Hello friends, this is your friend back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto became overpowered young and was forced to restore the Uzumaki Clan, a legendary Uzumaki Harem, Part 2. The clan's blood awakens, and Naruto can no longer hide his true power. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's start. Chapter 6. It was somewhat around afternoon when he woke up. Groggily, he made his way to the kitchen. There was just the water supply, so he had to bring his own glass from the backpack. After being a little refreshed, he looked around his home. It was as empty as he had first seen it. He had to get a lot of things that one would need in a place to live. The items he had back in his old house were barely in usable conditions back then, so being kept in store for all this time must have rusted them halfway through if he were to guess. There might be some important or usable stuff in there, but most of it was now basically useless. Thinking of his old house, he was reminded that the Hokage had said something about that one belonging to him too. So maybe he could make some use of it. Nah, on second thought, those irritating villagers must still be prying around in hopes of pranking or beating me up again, now that it isn't unknown that I'm back in the village. I could beat the crap out of them now before they could say demon, but I guess I shouldn't cause unwanted attention. I'll leave it be for now, I guess, he thought. He unpacked his backpack completely and put various stuff in their proper places. A part of his study table was occupied with important books and scrolls along with the rest in the cupboard. The wardrobe wasn't much filled with the few sets to clothes he had. The kitchen, dining room and the bathroom were almost the same as before. After all, he was traveling constantly, so the stuff to be carried was just the essentials. I would have to ask Gigi about that. I don't exactly know many shops around here, and I don't have the kind of money with me either that would be required to buy these kinds of stuff, Naruto said with a hand on his chin to no one in particular. This was expected, as throughout their travels all the financial tasks were attended by Shizune alone. Naruto was too young to do this kind of work, and Tsunade, well, she'd gamble it away when she had the chance. He changed into something more presentable, as he couldn't just roam around in pajamas. He had gone to check the clothes that he had wore during the match, and well, he was right. Those weren't in the condition to be wore anymore. He had to get replacement clothes as well as a few extra pairs. He went to the wardrobe and put on the usual white t-shirt with the orange jacket and black pants. Tucking the pouch with the ninja tools around his hip, he was now ready to move. Given that the seals were so tough, he didn't have to worry about anything being damaged or stolen. No civilian had the balls or skills to break through the barrier. And he didn't think any ninja would have a reason to break into his house. Yeah, shinobi hated him too, but they were disciplined enough not to indulge in any unlawful activities. The punishment for a shinobi was tougher than that of the civilians, since the shinobi were comparably privileged and were expected to uphold the law and order, not break it. Scene break and time skip. At Hokage's office, the Hokage was busy sorting out the piles of paperwork that was scattered on his desk as well as around it. Sometimes he wondered if using a kaiden jutsu to burn it up would do any good. But Kami knows how. He would get an equal amount the next day he'd come. He heard a knock at the door. Not expecting anyone at this time, he raised his guard a bit and ordered the person to come in. The door opened and an all-familiar face characterized by whiskers came into view. The Hokage was immediately relaxed that it was just Naruto who came to see him. I'm sorry, I hope I'm not disturbing you, the boy meekly said with a smile on his face. He had already sensed the presence of Anbu bodyguards around. 2 behind the bookshelf, 1 in the attic, and 1 under the couch. How weird, he thought. Oh, don't worry about it. You can come at midnight in my home and still find me surrounded by these things while I'm busy dreaming of finally finishing all this paperwork, the Hokage said, half laughing and the other half with frustration. Naruto tried to fake laugh, having little idea what the statement referred to. Anyways, why are you here? Is it about something important? Hokage said, sensing his obliviousness. No, nothing that important. I just had to ask about a few general issues, Naruto said, clarifying that there was no necessary or urgent issue for which the Anbu had to be sent away and privacy seals to be activated. The Hokage nodded in acceptance and waited for his further queries. You see, I recently shifted into the new home, as you already know. And I have to buy a few things that would be needed since much of the old household stuff is unusable now. And as you know that, there won't be any time for these things after this week, so I was wondering if you could send someone who would be able to help me get all the things or maybe send them over, Naruto said, carefully not to reveal any sensitive information about the upcoming training. The Hokage, understanding his point, nodded his head in acknowledgement. But contrary to what Naruto had requested, he said, "Naruto, why do you think I left out all that for you and not have it completely done beforehand? It was because I wanted you to be self-reliant from now on. I will not be sending anyone to select your needs and wishes." He knew that Naruto would have been dependent on the other two during his travels. But now that he's back in the village, he should be able to make minor decisions and handle his own. "Oh, okay, I guess. So what should I do then? I don't have any money right now, nor do I know many shops like that around here. Not to mention that I'll be needing someone to shift the things inside, and I don't think anybody would be willing to do that for me," Naruto said, quoting out his problems. "Okay, listen closely. First, do you have a list of what you wish to buy for your home?" Hokage asked. Naruto momentarily mentally facepalmed, having forgot to write down whatever he had in mind, and moved his neck to the sides quickly in negative. So first thing you have to do is make a list of whatever you want and look out for the required shops in the market. Once done, come back here. I'll then provide you with an alternative ID for your henge, so just give a picture with the details right now to the secretary outside. That solves your problem of help you'll need from the workers or shops. Lastly, money won't be an issue since we're not going for luxury but just the basics, which will be arranged easily. I'll meet you in 3 days and then we can talk further about it. That should be enough time to cover all of the required tasks. Does that solve everything, or you still have something left? The Hokage explained. No, of course not. That would be alright. I'll make sure to do all tasks and meet you in 3 days, Naruto replied enthusiastically. He already knew that money was equally important of an asset as everything else was. So using it effectively was another skill he had to develop, even if there was enough to spare at a particular time. Hiruzen pulled out an envelope and handed it to Naruto. Whatever essential items you may need for the next few days would be easily covered with this amount. Anyways, you won't find it that easy to make out a list. These kinds of things are suited to women, it's like they have a knack for it since they are born. Huh? Naruto tilted his head in confusion. Never mind. If that's all, you may leave, Hokage said with a sigh. Yes, and good luck with whatever you were doing, Naruto said as he ran away. Hiruzen looked at the piles of paperwork around the desk and swore that he had completed half of it before Naruto came. He exclaimed to nobody, how the hell these things just grow in size automatically. Only a few suppressed Anbu snickers could be heard. Scene break and time skip. Naruto was walking around in his home with a pen and a notepad in his hands. He was beginning to feel a little frustrated since many things didn't come to mind at once when generally looking for them. He was roaming around room to room looking for anything that was required so he won't have to make trips to the market every now and then. But everything looked so empty, there wasn't anything that came to mind to fill that much. He remembered the Hokage telling that it was better done by a girl or something like that. But he wasn't having anyone help anytime soon. Should have asked Shizune-chan while she was in the village. It would have been a piece of cake, thinking he was about to scream mentally. I guess I'll just write them up as I feel the need to use anything and it's unavailable, he said, not so confidently since there were a lot of things which might not be needed in 2 or 3 days. Exasperated, he threw the notepad on the bed and thought about going out for some fresh air which might get his mind working again. The balcony wasn't enough space and he didn't want to sit idle anyways. So he went out to explore the village further. Scene break and time skip. Naruto was walking away from the crowded places to the outskirts of the village. He could see a few of the clan compounds as he trod away from the main district. The area was comparatively far more calm. Now he knew why these compounds were built away from those markets. He continued on towards the training fields. There weren't a whole lot of people around, so he walked without any hesitation, avoiding them. Although he did have some curiosity, so he suppressed his chakra and went on to look at a random training ground where he could sense a few people. Hiding in a tree, he saw 3 young ninjas fighting against some silver-haired Junin. By looking at the dark green vest he was wearing and the high level of chakra he sensed from him, deducing from that, those must be students training under him, He had no idea why, but the Junin seemed vaguely familiar. Although, the look was far from what he thought of training, since all the Junin was doing was to kick them around with his hands in his pockets. But he also saw why the students were unable to connect a hit. Those idiots. If they are all against a single one, why not coordinate their attacks rather than attack blindly? He's no pushover if he's a Junin, and yet none seem to even see eye to eye with each other, Naruto contemplated. Anyways, it wasn't his place to judge. He had other things to take care of. The Junin was more than enough for a teacher if the students listened to him. With these thoughts, he backed off and jumped on the other side to look around further and left. On the other side, the Junin wondered if he had seen someone leaving the place from the corner of his eye, and also squinted at the fact that why he couldn't sense him at all. Time skip. After going through various training fields, and obviously avoiding those belonging to individual clans, he reached a certain overgrown field resembling a deep forest which looked abandoned, due to all the locked gates and fences he could see surrounding the entire area. He would have moved on quite willingly until he sensed a lone chakra signature somewhere around in the middle of the center and edge of the forest. Is someone training in this place? But, it's locked, so why would anyone go in here? There are lots of other places. Can it be that someone got stuck inside and can't find a way out? This place seems like one can't navigate easily enough. Should I go inside and check? Or maybe I should just walk away. Should I ask Gigi? But what if someone's in trouble right now? What should I do? Those were the thoughts running in his mind as he scrambled around, his hands on his head in frustration. Not to mention he was a little scared of the appearance of the place, added to which he didn't know the territory inside. On the other hand, leaving a needy person who might require assistance as soon as possible alone in such a place while he could help him was something he could never do. So, without any more delay, he leapt over the gates and fences in an acrobatic manner and landed on the other side. Running deeper into the forest, what he missed in the hurry was a signboard further ahead on which was visible a danger sign of skull and bones, and what was written under it could be read. Training Area 44. The Forest of Death. Time skip. What the hell is this place? I've been here for half an hour at most and almost been eaten 5 times even when I'm being so careful. What in the world is this person thinking of roaming around here? Naruto said out loud as he leapt away at branches. The chakra's signature was still further away, but he could sense that it was getting stronger as he got near. Hope I'm not too late. If someone is actually in trouble, that is, he thought. He increased his speed to reach the destination quickly, but was again interrupted by a giant spider along the way. Getting annoyed, he one-punched the spider down with his enhanced strength and trod forward hastily. Finally reaching the person he was looking for, he hid in the tree shadows to look at him. Wait, it's a her. The person standing there was a girl in her late teens having violet hair tied up in a ponytail. She was wearing a coat and mesh bodysuit underneath, but the coat fairly covered almost all of the upper half of her body closely. She had a leaf headband over her head. He decided to approach her warily but was surprised when he sensed a similar chakra behind and a kunai was on his neck before he could turn. Looking for someone, little guy? A feminine voice asked. He saw the woman in front of him disperse into snakes. It was a snake clone. Never saw one before, he thought. How did you know I was here? He asked. Well, I can sense people now and then. Although you're just a little brat, so you won't have any chakra at all. It had more to do with the fact that I heard a loud noise from that very direction, she replied. Oh, it was at that moment I punched the spider down. He facepalmed mentally. He thought of the options he had at the moment. Either he could elbow the girl fast enough and then engage in a fight, or simply surrender and talk nicely. Given that she was roaming around here in this place crawling with all kinds of deadly creatures, she was no joke. But most importantly, she was a leaf shinobi, and that was enough to give her benefit of the doubt. So he chose the latter. I was looking for you. I mean no harm. I'm a little scared of it right now, so could you please remove this kunai from my neck? He asked politely. The girl made no movement for a few seconds but then removed the kunai, guessing no harm could be done before listening the matter out clearly. He was just a young boy after all. Okay, but if you wanna talk, let's sit someplace, she said as she jumped down. Both of them sat near the base of the tree while the girl demanded why he was after her. I was roaming around the training ground but sensed a single chakra signature here. I thought somebody could be in trouble, so I may be able to help, he explained. So, you want me to believe we're able to sense my chakra from far outside the fences. What are you, 9? 10 at most. Sensory ninja are a different class altogether. Most chunin can't sense that far. Who are you kidding, brat? I thought you just entered by mistake and were expecting someone to save you, she said. No, I did come here in case you needed any help or something. And don't underestimate me just because of my age, Naruto retorted a little offended. Calm down, brat. Well, I guess I can't deny the fact completely since you managed to walk through the forest while you look mostly unharmed, she said, eyeing him. HMPH, he just said, turning his head sideways. Okay, I never got your name. Care to share? She asked rather nicely, which seemed a little forced. Naruto Uzumaki. I hope you'll tell me yours too, he replied. Anko Mitarashi. Nice to meet you, Naruto. Wait, aren't you that kid who? She stopped mid-sentence. It's all right. I know what that's about. Nice to meet you, Anko-san, he said. They made small talk about things here and there. He got to know that she was also like him, as some villagers treated her badly too, although not to an extent as much they hated him. It was because of the snake Sanin that she was put under guidance of a long time ago. She was thus also mocked as the snake bitch due to the curse mark he had used on her. That's why she roamed around here since she was young, because no one dared to step foot in this forest and she was well acquainted with the surroundings. But now she was a chunin and no one dared to mess with her. She was empathetic towards him, that's why she did start to like to talk around him. So why exactly were you taking a stroll in the middle of the day here? She asked. He rubbed the back of his head sheepishly and told her about the list he had to make to manage his home. Also how he miserably failed to do so, in the first attempt at least. So he went outside to explore and get some fresh air. What? That's nothing to be worked up on. If you want, I'll be glad to help, she said. Naruto was momentarily relieved that someone could help him, but still wasn't sure if she was trustworthy enough to be shown his home. She picked up his hesitation quite easily and thought of the only way to gain someone's trust, that is, to put your own trust in them. She motioned him to follow as she said, "Come on." Naruto was not sure of what to do but decided to go along as long as there wasn't any danger. Not far from the place where they were originally, she stopped in her tracks where two giant trees stood closely while their roots were intermingled above the ground. Not easily visible, there was a hut that was built rather unprofessionally, using the tree roots as foundation and using wood around them. As they neared it, Anko opened the gate and asked Naruto in. He was surprised to see that it looked cozy on the inside. Also, it was rather impressive as it was decorated and also well organized. He was a little ashamed that he couldn't even figure out a simple list while she seemed to have used up every corner of the space effectively. Welcome to my heavenly abode. This is the place I come to rest and relax where no one disturbs me. It is like an oasis in a desert, an island in the ocean, a mountain between the clouds, whatever you may call it. I don't like my house in the village that much, so I spend a lot of time here in this place, she said. Wow, this is awesome. Can I come here sometime again? He asked. Sure, but only when I'm around. I don't anyone sneaking around my house even if it's you. And you told me you can sense people, right, so make sure no one follows you. You can count the number of people on fingers of one hand who know about this place including you, so be extra careful, she said. He nodded readily. This house, unlike his own, had no security seals involved. It was probably because this forest itself was far more dangerous than any seal. A civilian would be eaten within 5 minutes of entering this area, if he's lucky enough. Naruto also felt reassured that he could trust the girl enough if she was willing to share her secret with him. In any case, he knew he did need some kind of help to be able to make that list. Anko-san, would you be able to help me out a little? He asked. Anko smirked, having found something interesting to do on a rather monotonous, uneventful day. Scene break and time skip. Both Naruto and Anko reached his home. Anko waited for him to unlock the door but barged in right before him as she was getting impatient, since he had to henge into a civilian and they couldn't cause attention. Also, he had to buy the groceries to cook lunch. Casting off the sandals aside, Anko ironically took her time as if speculating each and everything that could be used to make the place lively. Naruto quietly followed her, wondering what could be done by watching empty walls and cupboards. After what seemed like eternity to Naruto, Anko finally concluded up whatever she was doing and faced him. They were currently in his bedroom. I must say kid, you have got a great apartment for just yourself. But, what it lacks is liveliness. It's so depressing. I've seen prison cells better than this one. You're lucky I'm here. Don't worry, just grab a pen and paper and write whatever I say, Anko said. The reason the wall looked completely empty was that Naruto had stored away the photo frame of him from his travels since he was worried someone might pull the pieces together and know about where he's been the last few years. After all, there is always a chance someone might break in. Naruto did as instructed and brought the notepad he had been working on and showed Anko whatever he wrote. She tore that page and threw it away, instructing him to categorize all the stuff. Once done, she started rambling different types of things and Naruto was struggling to keep up. How is she even thinking of all kinds of that stuff? What the hell some of these things even mean? Man, this is great. Gigi will be surprised I was able to complete the list. And the talk about women knowing about this stuff, definitely correct, he thought. He couldn't believe how she quoted up the exact number and description of whatever could be needed. By the time she ended, half the notepad was filled and his hand was aching. Anko had a satisfactory smile knowing she didn't leave anything out. Wow, that was awesome. It's like you are an interior designer or something, he said. Anko just laughed loudly and replied, believe me Naruto, I'm not at all an expert in these nids of things. You should check the women out there who know the real stuff. Naruto just gaped in awe as to how someone could be better than this. But again, there was much in this world he didn't know about yet. So how are you gonna buy these things again? I don't think a kid like you would have enough money, she asked curiously. Well, Gigi said it won't be an issue, but I would have to cross out some of the less necessary things, he said, not wanting to be direct about it. Who are you talking about? She inquired. Well, the Hokage of course, he replied. Lord Hokage, she shouted in surprise. Hey, why are you shouting like that? He said. I'm sorry. It isn't a surprise, although since he also helped me when that basta man left me with this curse. I will always be grateful, she said. Yeah right. It didn't sound like you were surprised, he rolled his eyes sarcastically. Shrugging off his comment, she said, so, when will you be buying all these things? I can drop by to help. It's not like I have anything better to do. I'll have to show the list to Gigi first. He asked me to come after a few days to talk about some things, he said. Okay. I'll be at Amaguriyama, the dango shop, for next 4 days in the morning for breakfast if you want to meet then. If you are late than that, I won't be able to help since I have a mission afterwards, Anko said. Knowing the location, which wasn't too far from Ichiraku's, he nodded in affirmation. Thank you for helping, he said. Don't mention it, as I already said, I have nothing better to do right now, she said as she left. Great, I didn't even imagine it could done that easily, he said, but then a realization struck him. What am I going to do now to pass the time? Time skipped 3 days later. Naruto was currently standing in front of the gate of Hokage office around late morning. He had passed the time mainly by studying the scrolls and books that Tsunade had left with him. He did buy a few novels from the shops using a henge to pass the time, but those were quickly finished. Other than that, there wasn't anything that he considered even vaguely interesting at the time. He had also given the required details for the alternative ID that were needed the next day. He had to cut short the list now instead of trying to fill it. At least this was easier. He crossed off most of the decorative stuff and also the things without which he could manage easily enough. He knocked and waited for the Hokage to permit him to enter. Once he opened the gate, he saw that the Hokage had cleared up most of the paperwork already, or maybe burned them to ash, who knows. He exchanged greetings and then came directly onto the topic. I have made a list of whatever items that I need like you told me. Here, you can have a look, Naruto said as he presented a different notepad on which he had neatly written the final checklist. The Hokage was impressed to see that he had indeed written down everything that was expected. Good. But I can't believe you did this all by yourself, Hokage said. Actually I didn't. I had someone help me with all this. Truth be told, I wouldn't have been able to make it even if you have me a month, he said. I didn't know you had friends around here. That's good to know. Who is this if I may ask? Hiruzen said. Her name is Anko Mitarashi. I didn't know her until a few days ago. I kind of ran into her in the training grounds when I was taking a stroll, Naruto said. Oh, so you've already befriended Anko. I suppose that it's good you had help. Although it defeats the purpose that you do it by yourself. Well, at least you tried, the Hokage said. Naruto just gave an uncomfortable laugh. Now, first take this. The alternative ID, glorified name of fake ID which you needed has been prepared, Hokage said giving him a laminated card. Naruto accepted it and carefully tucked it in his pocket. I have cleared up my schedule for today so we can head out anytime now. Come on, the Hokage said. Wait, but where are we going? I just needed some money so I could buy all the items I need, Naruto asked. Just come along, would you? I will explain it to you once we reach there, Hiruzen said as he walked out followed by Naruto. Scene break and time skip. Naruto was looking up at a huge building with the title saying Reserve Bank of Konoha on a beautifully designed leaf-shaped board. The building was the head office of the bank which also had other smaller offices throughout the village. This was the only bank through which all the transactions occurred since allowing multiple banks would increase the chance of bypassing transparency of the financial inflow and outflow of the capital through the village. Although the use of cash could still be another way for the shady businesses, it did prevent exchange of larger amounts of money without increasing the chances of getting caught. The building was quite flashy compared to the simple design of the Hokage office since that place represented a symbol of power while this one represented the flourishing and luxury that the village had. It was also partly due to the fact that important persons from all over the Land of Fire also used the services of this bank, finding it to be more safer and trustworthy. As a result, it was also highly guarded and secure since attempt at a sabotage to this place could also deal a heavy blow to the village. Naruto just stood there admiring the building since he never came here before now as there was never a need. He also now understood why the Hokage brought him here. Come on, we don't want to spend the whole day here, the Hokage said. Wait a minute, you forgot to take out some money so you dragged me all the way here. Why not just call me at a later time? Or maybe send someone else to fetch it. Your Anbu. Literally anybody else, Naruto accused. It isn't what you think. Just follow me and halt your questions for a while, he said ignoring the questions as he entered the building through the glass doors followed by Naruto. They were promptly greeted at the reception and escorted to an office on the topmost level of the building. To Naruto it seemed like a royal corridor belonging to a luxury hotel at the time they were being led to a specific office. The end came at a wooden gate which was itself a piece of art and on which was a metal plate which told them that it was the office of the highest-ranking official in the whole bank, reading President. The escort knocked on the door and with permission invited the guests inside. He left as soon as all of the people were inside the room. The room was no less sumptuous than the outside if not more. It extended on the right side of the door having a single window on the front covered by curtains. A wooden bookcase stood behind the table and chair on which the man was seated. The man stood from his chair and greeted the Hokage properly. Hokage-sama, it is an honor for us to have your presence here. Why bother coming all the way here although? You could have just sent a word and I'd come to your office, the man said. Oh, there's no need for that. I've come here for some personal business. And sitting around all the time won't do any good to the stiff joints this old body has, the Hokage replied politely. Naruto was observing the man as he spoke to the Hokage. He looked a little younger than the Hokage, but still was an old man with gray hair. He had wore a traditional outfit compared to most of the other staff working at the bank. It was probably due to the generation gap and he still preferred conventional garments. His posture was straight yet respectful while talking to the Hokage. And who else do I have the pleasure to make acquaintance with today, he said looking at Naruto. Ahaya gozaimasu, Oji-san. My name is Naruto, Naruto said respectfully. Ahaya, Naruto-san. It's nice to meet you. Please, both you have a seat, he said. Once they were seated, the man sent for someone to bring them tea. This is an old friend of mine, Reizo. He's been running this bank for a lot of years and I don't know anyone who is half as able to manage things smoothly as he can. He always has been an expert at finance and economics, the Hokage said while facing Naruto. You humble me, Hokage-sama. I've just been trying to do my best at the responsibility I've been given, nothing else, Reizo said with a smile. I'm not going to take much of your time, so let's get to the work I'm here for, Hiruzen said. Of course, how can I help you today? Reizo said with a business-like expression. The Hokage pulled out a scroll and put it in front of the man on the table. The details of an account in this boy's name under my guardianship are in the scroll. It was until now a deposit-only account, but now I'd like to convert it for withdrawal as well. Also, I'd like to have a specific withdrawal limit per month started from next week, he said. Of course, that can be arranged easily. You might already know, but in case the ceiling limit is reached, we will require a document duly signed by you, the guardian, to withdraw from the rest. Is that okay with you? Reizo asked. Yes, I understand completely. It is as I wish, the Hokage said. Very well. I will need a little more documentation from both of you, but it won't take much time, Reizo said as he made a call. A woman appeared at the door who was instructed by the president to carry out the work. Naruto, I will need you to go with her for some identification details. Don't worry, she will explain everything to you, Reizo said. Naruto, who was listening quietly through the whole conversation, just looked towards the Hokage, who nodded. He then walked off, following the lady out of the room. Hokage-sama, if I may ask, isn't this the same child who I think he is? Reizo asked hesitantly. The Hokages glared at the man with stern eyes and said, yes, he is. And don't forget that he has a name too, it's Naruto. I apologize, I didn't mean it like that. I was just concerned if giving a child like him liberty, and that too to someone as Naruto, would be the right decision, not that I question your wisdom, Reizo said. You don't see him as himself yet, my friend. He will be an exceptional shinobi someday and a great asset to the Leaf Village. Remember my words, and maybe sometime in the future when you recall them, you may understand, the Hokage said, sipping his tea. If you say so with such confidence, I don't have any doubts myself. I do hope you're right, for the best of the village, Hiruzen-senpai, Reizo said with a smile on his face. After some time, as they made small talk, Naruto returned with the same woman who was holding a bunch of documents and an envelope. Sir, all the formalities are done except for the guardian's signature in a few places, she said, handing over the documents and the envelope to the man. Reizo got the signatures from Hiruzen and handed over all of them except the envelope to the woman who left the room. Handing over the envelope, Reizo said, this contains all the things related to this account, including the debit card. The ceiling will be started from the next week, which will be 15,000 ryo as mentioned in the scroll. Is there anything else I can help you with? No, that will be all for today. Thank you, Reizo, the Hokage said. The pleasure is all mine, Hokage-sama. And it was nice meeting you, Naruto-kun, I hope we meet again soon, Reizo said. Thank you, Reizo-san. It was nice meeting you too, Naruto said politely with a slight bow. With that, they left the office and once again were in the front of the office building, but facing the opposite side. Now that we have completed our work here, do you need anything else? The Hokage asked. Actually, there is one thing that I wanted to ask. Since we are going to start training after a few days, I was wondering if you could show me a shop where I can restock up on the ninja tools, since I did use many of them in the test, Naruto said. Oh, sure. I have just the place in mind, the Hokage said as he started walking, followed by Naruto. Scene break and time skip. Naruto was perplexed as to why they were currently walking in a small street of a comparatively less crowded area of the village. Surely there would have been many shops in the main market too. But the old man must have known what he's doing, so he kept following him silently. After making a few twists and turns, they finally reached a shop at the corner which looked like it had seen better days. Not that it was broken or wrecked in some way, it was just completely worn out, in the lack of a better term. The shop owner hadn't spent anything on renovation of any kind from the looks of it. Although appearances can be misleading, so he entered the shop following the Hokage, whose signboard read, Konoha Tools. Upon entering the shop, as usual, the Hokage was greeted instantly by a relatively young man who appeared to be the shop owner. He looked like he was aged around early to mid-30s. Hokage-sama, it's a pleasure to have you here. Although you could have sent me the requirements and I would have delivered it as usual on time, he asked, which suggested that the Hokage did frequent purchases from this place. I would have, but I came here to introduce someone here. He might be one of your potential customers, the Hokage said with a little laugh. Oh, I'm sorry I didn't see you before. My name is Yuichi and I am the owner of this store. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. And let me say, I am reminded of someone whose hair were quite similar to yours when I look at you, little one, he said with a smile. My name is Naruto. It's nice to meet you too, Naruto said embarrassingly from the last comment at his hair. Naruto would like to make a few purchases today, the Hokage said, being a little uncomfortable diverting the topic for some reason. Yes sir, but I usually don't sell weapons to civilians, especially children, unless they're in the ninja academy. Are you sure this is okay? Yuichi asked. Yes, he is more than capable of handling himself. I take complete responsibility if you're hesitant, the Hokage said in a tone which sounded like he was indirectly giving an order. If you say so, Hokage-sama. I have no doubts then. So what do you need? The shop owner asked Naruto. 500 kunai, 500 shuriken, and 250 senbon needles, for now. These should be more than enough. I don't know how much I'll be needing afterwards, so I'll come by later if necessary, he said. Yuichi was visibly surprised as he expected the boy to buy a few articles at most, not a few hundred, but managed to gulp the fact down when the nodded upon his look for confirmation. But again, if a customer asks something, who is he to judge? Sure, please wait for a minute, the owner said as he went inside the shop storeroom. He returned after a minute with 3 scrolls in his hand and turned it over to Naruto saying, Here, I packed all the 3 items in different scrolls free of charge so you won't be confused and would be easier for you. Think of it as a small gift since you made such a big order in one go and at your first time here. Thank you, Yuichi-san. Here is your payment, Naruto said, giving him his debit card. Yuichi was again surprised since he thought the Hokage was going to make the payment, but accepted the card nonetheless and swiped it through the point-of-sale machine. Naruto pressed the password, having memorized it during the walk to the shop when the Hokage had explained to him how it worked. The payment was successful and the receipt was given along with the bill. Naruto, being curious, asked the man, Excuse me Yuichi-san, but I couldn't help but notice that your shop looks like it has been quite some time after its last repair or renovation. Is there a reason for that? Yuichi just smiled at the question instead of being offended and said, Naruto-san, was it? I am fully aware of the condition our shop is in. But we don't have enough money to spare for those kinds of works. I just earn enough to have my family live a normal life. But a weapons shop like yours could earn quite a lot since this is a shinobi village and there is a need for them every time. Maybe if you relocate to a better place, Naruto trailed off. It's not that I can't, but I don't do it on purpose. You see, this shop has been here for generations and our family has been running it since then. We consider ourselves to be excellent craftsmen and thus don't work on anything half-heartedly, as we take pride in our work. To increase my production I would have to rush out the things which ultimately would lead to deprivation of the quality of the product. Nor I can increase the prices since it would affect our customers who place their trust in our work. We might not be rich, but that is not the goal. No one ever gets any chance of complaint ever for any product and we always receive praise and will hope to keep it that way to the best we can, Yuichi explained with a proud look. Oh, that is so awesome. But do you also know how to use them? Naruto asked. Why yes, of course. I am a certified ninja, boy. Although I opted for early retirement since I was more interested in running this place and working on ninja tools. Let me tell you something interesting. One of my teammates on my genin team was none other than whom you today know as the 4th Hokage. My daughter too has joined the academy this year. She has also shown some interest towards ninja tools, so maybe one day she would take over running this place, although that's still uncertain, Yuichi replied. Paying no heed to the last statement about his daughter, Naruto excitedly asked, Whoa, really? You were on 4th Hokage's team. Please tell me about him, he's practically a legend. Laughing at the boy's excitement, Yuichi said, Yes, I was. Actually I was ahead of him initially in the academy, but due to his exceptional rapid progress, he was promoted 2 years to our batch. When we became genin, we actually had to struggle to keep up with him. He quickly outshone everyone else as he had already made it to Junin when we became Chunin. He practically won us a war single-handedly soon after becoming the 4th Hokage. After the war, I retired and started working here. He was in a true sense what a prodigy could mean. Naruto's eyes were gleaming with stars after hearing so much about his role model. The Hokage was quietly listening to the talk while observing Naruto. Thank you for everything, Yuichi-san. I hope to see you again real soon. Maybe you could tell me more about the fourth, Naruto said. It's my pleasure. I would love to boast about my friend to anyone who wants to listen. Although it's a shame that he isn't among us anymore, I am proud as a friend and a citizen of the Leaf that he courageously laid down his life for the sake of the village. Anyways, it was nice meeting you, Naruto, Yuichi said as he shook Naruto's hand and bowed to the Hokage. With that, the duo exited the shop leading to the Hokage asking Naruto again, so is that all or do you need something else? Thinking for a few seconds without any important work popping in his mind, he replied, no, nothing comes to mind as of now. Thank you for sparing some time for me. It would have been a hassle without you around. Now I just have to meet Anko-san tomorrow and we will go shopping and that's it. Don't mention it. And also keep in mind not to overspend. No matter how alluring, if you don't need it then don't waste your money, the Hokage advised. Sure, I will keep that in mind. Also, I wanted to ask something. Won't the money get totally depleted eventually if I keep using it? Also I don't even know how much is it or how an account in my name exists in the first place, Naruto said. The Hokage thought about what to answer the kid. The initial amount of money which was deposited to his account instead of Tsunade's was due to her request that the journey undertaken by her for the 3 years was solely for Naruto's sake and therefore it was only fitting that Naruto use it in the future. An S-rank pay for a 3-year mission was a considerable amount which was easily few million ryo. This was also the reason why some shinobi after such harsh or long missions took their time relaxing in leisure since money wouldn't be an issue for at least some time. Although surprisingly, it was the other deposit which made up most of the part currently in the account. It was something he got to know from the letters that Tsunade sent between their travels which had nearly made his eyes pop out of their orbits. He had to read the letter thrice before he could believe what had just read. Momentarily remembering what the letter revealed he delved deep into his memory. Flashback. Come on Shizune-chan, I'm starving. Can't you walk a little bit faster? Ba-chan must have finished her lunch by now. It's because of you. Naruto said loudly, walking briskly reverse-footed, pointing a finger at Shizune who was sweat-dropping, being the target of the glances of all the surrounding pedestrians because of him. You know why? Because you insisted that we train until I get my aim right while dinner can wait a little more. Now we are very much more than a little late. And still you're walking slower than a turtle. We won't even reach there until supper at this speed. Shizune, being embarrassed enough, quickly replied, Naruto, please stop making a scene here. I said I'm sorry. I didn't think it would take that long and lost track of time. And I don't want to be seen running through the streets with a rumbling stomach, that's why we're walking. Tell you what, I'll make it up by treating you to ramen. Now let's go to the hotel room to freshen up before we head to the dining area. Fine, but only because you're treating me ramen. Don't forget your promise, Naruto said as he turned to walk normally without complaints, folding his hands. Well, I'm going to get scolded by Lady Tsunade for feeding him ramen every now and then. But what can I do except that to shut him up nicely? Shizune asked, not that anyone was there to listen to her. Both of them reached the place in the town where they were staying for the time being. They reached the room and had to use the key since the gate was locked. Upon entering they saw that Tsunade was nowhere to be found. Instead a note was seen on the table which Shizune picked up promptly before reading it. I'm going out to have some fun, Shizune. Take care of Naruto, I'll be back in a few hours. This was all she had to read to give out a frustrated groan which Naruto encountered quite a lot in a similar situation now and then, so didn't bother to ask about it. Instead, he rushed off to shower first since his stomach left no chance in telling everyone that he was hungry. Leave her alone for one moment and she rushes off to gamble whatever money she has. I am certain she is at the biggest gambling hall of this town. And once she starts betting, even I can't stop her until she's completely dry. Why do I have to babysit everyone in the first place? Shizune grumbled, exasperated. She shoved these thoughts aside as Naruto came out of shower, indicating that she could use it now. While she was using the shower, Naruto was less than patiently tapping his foot on the floor, which was clouded by the sound his stomach made while rumbling. Shizune was then virtually dragged to the hotel-attached restaurant after she came out of the shower, only having enough time to hang the towel which she was using to dry her hair. She had to keep true to her promise after they reached the place, so she ordered ramen for Naruto while the regular meal for herself. Given how hungry both of them were, it didn't take much time before their meals were finished, with Naruto having multiple empty bowls stacked in front of him. "So where is Ba-chan anyways? I know she left a note telling you, so let's go there too," Naruto said. Shizune was a little surprised by the question since she didn't exactly expect it beforehand, but replied, "She's somewhere around in town." "Why do you ask?" "Well, wherever she is, Tenten is with her. And I want to play with Tenten," Naruto said. "Why don't you play with me? We can also train if you want. Or we can also have a little rest easy since we just ate a meal," Shizune replied, not wanting to roam around the town in their search, but a certain knucklehead wasn't going to relent this easily. "Oh come on Ne-chan, did you forget what's that saying about walking helps to digest your food? After I meet Tenten we'll play on our own so you can rest all you want. Now let's go," Naruto said, tugging on her arm. Shizune sighed as she had enough experience to know that the boy was adamant enough not to be persuaded easily, just like her teacher if not more. Thus, holding his hand, she left the building with the only thought: just why did I let Tenten go with Lady Tsunade, thinking that it would save me the trouble of holding it all the way back. Scene break and time skip. Shizune had finally managed to pinpoint the location of the biggest gambling hall in the town, and they were currently standing at the entrance. "What is this place, Ne-chan? And why is Ba-chan here?" Naruto said. Being unable to tell him what exactly was the purpose of this place to the boy, she said something which wasn't a lie but a half-truth. "Well, you can play some games here which can win you some prizes. Whoa, like the ones that we see in fairs, where you have to pop balloons or throw rings on targets?" Naruto asked excitedly. Not exactly. These are a little different, but yeah, kind of like that," Shizune said. "Let's go then, what are we waiting for?" Naruto said, rushing off inside to find Tsunade, with Shizune following him, thinking how she got herself in this situation. A few minutes later they found Tsunade with Tenten on her lap at the casino table on which the biggest betting seemed to be going on. She looked like she was about to explode from the frustration builded up just below the surface, gauging by the angry expression she was trying to hide. It was likely due to her losing streak that kept going on today too, while the others were salivating at the hefty amount of money they were going to make today after what's left was just one last round. "Ba-chan, we finally found you," a voice called out, heard by Tsunade, which put oil in the fire that she was already trying to control. She looked towards the source with an angry look, but was surprised to find Naruto there. "How many times have I told you not to call me that in public? And why are you here, Naruto? Where is Shizune?" she asked. As if on cue, Shizune came up running behind Naruto to find a questioning gaze from her teacher. She was going to apologize and explain her reasons, but Naruto beat her to it. "I had trained with Ne-chan a lot since morning. So I wanted to play with Tenten, but you were not at the hotel. And Ne-chan said it might take you hours to come back, so we came looking for you instead. Come on Tenten, let's go play." Tsunade facepalmed at the reasoning but shrugged it off easily, already expecting some kind of childish answer from him. "Wait, I'm almost done here. Doesn't take me a few hours to empty my stash considering my luck. I'll come with you guys too," she said. "Can I play too? I never played this kind of game before." "Please please," Naruto said hopefully. Looking at the cute face he was making and considering that she was on her last straws, decided to let him since there was no harm. "Fine. Here, these are the dice. You have to try to predict what can be the outcome, either odd or even," she said, taking Naruto on her lap with Tenten jumping into Shizune's arms, who watched wide-eyed as she expected Tsunade to scold her for bringing Naruto her and not have him play. Naruto grinned at having a chance to play. He guessed odd and it went right. Tsunade was happy that at least he didn't have her bad luck. But what she did not expect was what happened afterwards. Turn by turn Naruto guessed the outcomes and they came out to be the same. It wasn't long before Tsunade had more than the amount she had started with piled up in front of her. She was tempted to stop the game since all of it could be lost again, but she knew that it was Naruto's game now, so opted to watch. Getting annoyed at suddenly being at a loss against the large profit they were expecting, they turned in bigger stakes to swipe it back quickly. But fate had other plans for the day as Naruto kept guessing the outcome correctly, making the game fun to him, oblivious to the death glares received from all the rest of the participants. Tsunade was now instead trying to control the laughter and amusement that came due to the situation. Shizune was seen retracting her dropped jaw since never in her life she had seen Tsunade winning a jackpot like that. Since it was Naruto and not herself who was winning the games, Tsunade didn't have any ominous feeling at the back of her mind. Wow, my Naru-chan, you are so great at this. We actually won the game. Suon said, barely hiding her grin as the whole table was empty as space except for the area where Tsunade was sitting. The collective money was accounted to be around 5 million ryo, which Tsunade would happily have been content to withdraw, but the game that fate wanted to play wasn't over yet. The rich casino owner, getting several complaints from the customers about how a single woman with a kid seemingly robbed them off, somehow approached her to somehow get back the money. It seems like you're enjoying your time here. I would like to make an offer at another game. It is different from the classic Dice one as we have recently installed it, he said. Yes, let's go, I want to play more, Naruto said, to which Tsunade couldn't refuse. The chuffed casino owner escorted them to the area where the game was. It was a roulette with a metal ball of silver color inside. The numbers were arranged from 0 to 50 with each successive number being alternatively red and black. At the center there was another ring which had only color marking with blue and green alternatively. There are many ways to play this one. For example, you can bet on it being red or black, which would give a 50% chance. Any combination you like would be allowed and we'll calculate according to the odds placed. It gives the customer a variety of options. Also, the inner ring, should you wish to use it, can double or half the amount of whatever you score depending on the color chosen, the owner explained. Guessing the best choice would be to let Naruto speak the outcome, since it was because of him that they had reached this stage. She told the owner that whatever Naruto says would be the bet. Without a doubt in his mind, Naruto exclaimed, dramatically pointing his finger, I choose blue number 7 with every single bit hope I have. The bar owner internally squealed at having the best possible situation in his hands, since the odds were against the boy at 50 to 1 since he chose one number. Tsunade, on the other hand, was mortified at the scene since the money was as good as gone now. The owner made no delay in starting the roulette wheel, as Tsunade couldn't back down after giving Naruto the decision, nor did he want to give her any chance to protest. The roulette started spinning along with the hopes of all those present, with although those of few were quite bleak. Tsunade's folded her hands with one hand going all the way up, covering her already closed eyes. Shizune clutched Tenten even more tightly, much to the annoyance of it. The owner, along with the already lost gamblers, were waiting to get the money back in the game, as they were as good as victors here. Many of the crowd inside the casino had gathered around the roulette table when they heard that a really large bet was taking place. All those simply had a curious look in their eyes, although they too expected the game to move in the favor of the owner. Time seemed to slow down as the speed of the ball around the roulette began to decelerate. Making a few rounds with the speed dying down, it finally came to a stop. To everyone, time seemed to be still, since there wasn't a sound in the whole casino at the moment the clock read 1929 hours. Oink oink. Tenten wondered what happened, as all the voice seemed to have died down and the grip of Shizune seemed to be even tightened. Yeah! Naruto shouted. This seemed to break everyone from their trance as the crowd erupted into cheer, while Tsunade stood there speechless at the sight that beheld. The roulette spin ended the silver ball exactly at number 7, while the inner ring also aligned blue color with it. The turn to be truly mortified at the scene was partially expressed by the lost gamblers, but mostly by the owner, who had overconfidently invited his own demise, metaphorically speaking. It was because now the reward was changed in terms of the clients and for the better. Ascertaining the value by going with the odds of 50 against 1, the 5 million ryo had been proliferated to 250 million ryo. To add salt on the wound for the owner, blue color in the outcome had basically doubled the amount to a freaking 500 million ryo. Feeling exultant at the near impossible outcome which was in their favor, Tsunade didn't take any more time to hug Naruto hard, crashing his face into the so-called Valley of Heaven, making many of the male crowd wish they were in his place. Although to Naruto, it felt as if he would asphyxiate any minute. The same could be said for Tenten, since Shizune didn't seem to express herself more consciously than subconsciously. After some time, when the hype died down and the loser gamblers sneaked their way out hurriedly, the owner had no choice but to keep his word, since everybody had witnessed the scene, so his business and impression was on the line. He reluctantly took Shizune to his office room, where he opened the vault and counted the money along with Shizune, after which she sealed it in a scroll. The vault did seem to look much emptier, to the irritation of the owner, since it had been quite a lot of time for him to build up this much amount of money. Shizune simply nodded and held back a smile, then went to meet the others outside the building. Naruto was quite happy since he won, although confused as to why everyone made a fuss about it. Tsunade on the other hand was feeling quite elated. This has to be the best day ever. Lady Luck must be giving me back all the lost fortune I could have had since forever. Naruto, I can't believe you're this felicitous at these kinds of things. You're coming with me every time now, Tsunade said happily. Lady Tsunade, Shizune scolded her. Here comes the party pooper. Okay, I was just kidding. From what happened today, I think I've had my fun all at once, and I really don't want to push my luck, Tsunade replied. So what was the prize again? Naruto asked. That you don't need to worry. Your prize is that you get to eat ramen tomorrow as much as you want, Tsunade said smiling. Really? Wow, I need to get to this place more often, he said. Naruto, Shizune said. Okay, I was kidding. What's with you, this place is a lot of fun. But anyways, as long as I'm getting ramen I won't complain, Naruto grinned. Shizune handed over the scroll to Tsunade, who carefully stored it inside her pocket of the haori. They headed to the hotel directly since it was getting late. Tsunade upon reaching sent a letter to the Hokage conveying Naruto's recent success at stripping off a whole casino. She had also asked the details to Naruto's account since she had decided to deposit all of the money in it. A few days later, while Naruto had gone to be treated to another round of ramen to his delight with Shizune, Tsunade had set up a meeting at the branch of Konoha Reserve Bank in the town where she deposited the hefty amount, much to the surprise of the manager. Flashback over. Well, details about the account itself are not something you need to know for now. And the money won't get down to zero since the interest also keeps being added to it. Yeah right, nice way of fooling the kid Hiruzen. He wouldn't be able to finish it easily even if he wanted to. And you will be able to start working on ninja missions after passing the academy, which would also get earnings. For now, just focus on your studies and training and not your finances. If there's any problem you can always ask me, these can be easily handled, the Hokage said. Naruto frowned at being denied of the details but then shrugged it off. After all, the Hokage does everything in his best interests. And maybe he'll know when the right time comes. Before I forget, you can also use the card at any ATM machine to withdraw cash since not every shop uses the electronic payment system, the Hokage said. Okay. Thanks again, Gigi. I'm going back home now, Naruto said and sprinted away. My, what an energetic child. Well, I have taken the day off anyway, so guess I'll spend some time with my grandson, the Hokage said to no one in particular. Scene break and time skip. Next day. Okay, I guess this is the shop. I've passed this one a lot of times but never actually bought anything from this shop. I guess I don't have much of a sweet tooth, Naruto said standing in front of the shop at the given time Anko had told him. He entered the shop with his eyes scanning the area looking for the girl. He easily spotted her at the corner in the right, sitting alone with a couple of dango sticks in the plate and stuffing her mouth with the rest. It was because the shop was less crowded as it was a weekday and the time was late morning, so mostly everyone had gone off to work. Hey there, Anko-san. Good morning, Naruto said as he approached the girl. As her mouth was full at the moment, she just waved at him and he waited until she forced the last with a glass of water and said, "Ah, Naruto. You're actually on time. That's good, because I hate waiting. And there's a certain guy from one of my seniors who always keeps people waiting for hours and hours. Man, that's annoying." Shrugging off the comment since he didn't know whoever that person was, he said, "Yeah, I always keep my promises. So now should we go to the market? Cool down. I'm not running anywhere. And anyways, I can't let you leave here until we have some dangos," she said as she shouted, "Hey old man, can we have some more dangos here?" The middle-aged man replied in affirmation and grumbled something about not being that old yet. "Hey, wait a minute. I thought we would have to leave directly, so I just had some breakfast at Ichiraku's," Naruto said. "I don't care. Once you're here and that too on my request, you can't leave without tasting the best food around. Eat up, it's on me," Anko said. Naruto, sighing in defeat, sat opposite to the young woman and said, "You know, I'm not very much into sweets. Ramen is much better." It's almost heavenly, with almost a dreamy drool on his face. Whatever. Your opinion won't be the same once you taste the real heavenly dish, Anko said with an equally dreamy face. Both the occupants straightened up as the shop owner told them that their order was ready and they could take it. Naruto got up to bring the plates before Anko could and uttered a thanks to the owner. Naruto started eating one of the dumplings while Anko waited to see his reaction. He closed his eyes in satisfaction, which clearly showed that he did like the dish a lot. This is delicious, Anko-san. Although I can't find it anyhow better than Ichiraku's ramen, it certainly is on my top 10 list, Naruto said. Anko frowned at the statement and said, "Oh, so what are the other 8 dishes then?" "Well, there isn't just one kind of ramen," Naruto said plainly. Anko couldn't hold her frown as it turned into a laughter after hearing that. "Kami, you're a real ramen freak. But then maybe I'm a dango freak too. So let's finish up fast, then we have to go shopping too." Naruto was a bit put off by the way she had a hint of squeal in her voice, since why would a person exactly have excitement for a job as simple as shopping? But then again, judging from the loss she had him make the day before, anything could be possible. A few time skips later. Naruto was treading around breathing heavily with all the bags he had to carry while Anko was totally carefree. It seemed to him like she had eyes on literally everything present in the market. Hopping around from one store to another, she gave Naruto a hard time even tracking her. Anko on the other hand was having the fun of her life as she never had an opportunity to buy such large number of things in one go. It was a good thing Naruto held on to the money, else she would have hurled up every household item that looked either pretty or useful, but Naruto was only agreeing on the ones which were pretty useful. The large bulky ones had been ordered to be delivered directly at his home. He had to keep on a hinge all the time since he didn't want to be the target of hostility again. Anko, though, had no problem, since except for a few criminal elements around the town who harassed her in the past, who although were now scared of her, most of the people didn't seem to have any problem with her, unlike with him around where almost the whole village seemed to be hellbent on somehow ostracizing him. He didn't let it bother himself as he was happy that Anko didn't have to suffer in at least this way any longer. But at the moment he did want her to suffer since he was the only one doing that while she was enjoying this chore in a way he didn't understand why. After doing all the shopping and probably roaming around the market for at least a few dozen times according to Naruto, they were finally at his home by evening. After resting for a few minutes, Anko explained to him exactly where what item would be used or placed. They were both working for an hour or so, after which Anko told him that she had to leave since it would take some time to reach home and also that she had a mission to attend early the next day. "Well kid, it was fun shopping around with you. Call me anytime again if you need," Anko said. "I'm sure I'd pass on that. And I really don't think anything would be left after what we got today. But yeah, I'd say it was fun hanging around with you," Naruto said. "Aw, come on, it couldn't have been that bad. Anyways, you can come to the training area and you know the location inside already. I'm available more at that place than my actual home outside," Anko said. "Oh, sure, I'll keep that in mind," Naruto replied. "You see, I'm not very much good at shopping and all like other girls, otherwise you'd be home in half the time and double the products," Anko said, giving him a warm smile and a light kiss on the cheek before she left. Naruto was a little embarrassed by the gesture but didn't mind it much since he had been on the receiving end of quite a few of them every time both the ladies found him looking cute in the last few years, much to his annoyance. Placing a hand to wipe the sensation on his cheek, he said, "If other women are really even more capable of doing such tasks than her, maybe it's better not to engage with any one of them or else I'll find my hands fallen down due to the stuff I've been carrying for hours before I could reach home." Time skip. Naruto was lying down comfy on his bed the night before his training was going to be started. He had prepared dinner shortly after Anko had gone since he was quite tired and wanted to sleep badly 2 days ago. The day before, he had dedicated almost the whole day to managing and tidying up his home since he didn't want any of these petty chores to be left after he had started training, since it would not let him concentrate or focus on the more important jobs. On the last day he had decided to just relax, as most probably the upcoming days wouldn't be so easy on him, and nor did he want them to. He was determined to work harder day by day until he reaches his goal. To become the Hokage and be acknowledged as well as respected not only in Konoha but the entire world. Now here he was looking at the ceiling fan in the darkness wondering what his parents would have wanted him to be. He wasn't exactly pleased with himself having his thoughts drifting off to his parents every now and then, but couldn't help it as a part of him still wondered what would life had been if he was like any other child living a normal life with his family. It was only supplemented by the fact that starting tomorrow his life was taking another turn as it would lead up to him becoming a shinobi and hopefully achieving his goal someday. Granted that he had come a really long way from 3 years ago and was happy that there were people who cared about him even if not his parents were. He didn't feel sad anymore since the Hokage had at least told him that his parents didn't have any ill feelings towards him anyhow, but also frustrated since he hadn't gone into any detail after that. So having all kinds of possibilities, he even wondered if they were shinobi or civilians, or that they liked shinobi or bore hatred against them, or if they would have accepted his decision of becoming a shinobi. But in the end he decided to push aside all the negative thoughts since they were in the end going to create doubt on himself and hoped that they'd be proud of whatever type of person he became. Knowing that there's only moving forward and no looking back from the next day on, he fell into deep slumber having high hopes of achieving his dreams one day. Chapter 7. Dawn had emerged on another peaceful day in the village hidden in the leaves. Through the twilight, the young blonde could be seen sitting atop the edge of the great Hokage monument. He was waiting for the sunrise since it always seemed to give a good welcoming start of the upcoming day. He had woken up early, which given his disciplined schedule wasn't anything out of ordinary, and quickly completed the morning chores. After taking a shower, he put on his new training outfit. It wasn't because he wanted to look cool or anything, but because of the fact that he wouldn't be able to wear those clothes in the public due to the condition they'd be in. He already had to dispose of one good pair from when he sparred with the Hokage last time. Although these could be used longer since they were only for training purposes. So he had bought more than a dozen pairs of same t-shirts and pants for the training. Anko had offered to select different fashions, but he had outright refused, due to which he was now free of the hassle of choosing any specific dress every time, as all were nothing but alike. He tucked the pouch at the side of his waist in which he had arranged his ninja tools the night before. He did remember Yuichi's words when he had proudly said that the shop only sold top quality products, which did come out to be true in his case at least. Heading out after locking the house, he had decided to watch the sunrise before finally going to the training field. He didn't get to ask about the specific time to reach, so decided to reach the location around sunrise and wait there until his teacher arrives. As the sky turned bright blue in color, sweeping off the darkness of the night, and the rays of the sun fell upon the land all around, refreshing it for another merry day, he couldn't help but feel a shiver in his spine because of the cool breeze and also due to the excitement building up within him, erasing all the doubts and fears he had until now. Standing up slowly and looking at the rising sun above the horizon, which was as bright as his waving hair, Naruto announced at the top of his lungs. "I'm gonna get stronger now from every day on. Someday I will be strong enough to protect the whole village and I'll be the Hokage, Datbeo." Naruto was very surprised to find the Hokage already waiting for him, enjoying the nature as he approached the location inside the training grounds. Embarrassed while curious a little, he asked, "Gigi, was I supposed to be here earlier? I really didn't expect to find you here already." "Why, of course you were. I'm roaming around here for hours now. Don't think this will go without punishment," the Hokage said with a reprimanding tone, although a slight upturn on his lips was all that was needed to know that he was just pulling Naruto's leg. Although it went unnoticed by Naruto as he was focused more on his apparent folly, coupled with the fact that the Hokage's face or the expressions contained couldn't be clearly made out due to the hat that accompanied his white robes. "I'm really sorry. I assumed that we won't start before sunrise, so I didn't get here earlier." "Well, a punishment is not exactly the great start I had in mind, but again, no one else is to blame. So what do I have to do?" Naruto bowed a little to apologize before rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. The Hokage couldn't keep the ruse very long as he started laughing lightly. Naruto didn't understand why he was doing so, but assumed that it had to be because of his statement about having a great start. But he was quickly brought to the light as the Hokage waved his hand in air dismissively and said, "You weren't late in the slightest. I myself reached a few minutes ago. I was just trying to lighten the mood a little before we get down to the serious business." "Yeah, right, lighten the mood, speak for yourself. I wasn't exactly thrilled at being punished before I even started, Naruto said with a pout but then grinned nonetheless. I assume you've had your fill of relaxation in the past few days. Since starting today it will be nothing but a luxury, that is, if you somehow manage time to get it, Hiruzen said. Oh, I've had plenty of it and I was actually getting bored. From now on at least I will get something productive to do. I'm itching to get started. So Gigi, wait, what do I call you now? Sensei Oji-san, or maybe Hokage Sensei-sama, Naruto said putting a finger on his chin. You can call me what you always have. And since you are so eager to get started I suppose it would be good to warm up first. Take a round of the field gradually increasing your speed and come back here. And it would be advisable to run up to here from home next time so it'd save us more time, Hokage said. Naruto saluted giving an affirmative and darted off to complete his lap around the ground while the Hokage himself carried on with his stretching exercises as he had already warmed up. Naruto appeared panting after a few minutes and waited to take a breather before asking, "Done?" I stretched already between the breaks of sprints. Can we now get to the main part please? The Hokage smiled at the young boy's enthusiasm which was still not quite free of impatience. Giving him time to get his breath back before starting with the physical part of the training, he asked Naruto instead, "Tell me, what do you know about ninja arts? I did test your battle skills but haven't yet had a chance to assess how much knowledge you have." Well, I just know the basic stuff. Since Ba-chan decided to teach me medical ninjutsu, it was mostly the only thing I had to study as it was a huge topic within itself. It also required practical application as theoretical knowledge itself is useless, unless one knows how to implement it in reality. Apart from the scrolls you had given me back then, I didn't exactly had another source to study or the time dedicated to it, Naruto explained. Although before the Hokage could say anything, he added, as for your question, let me tell you how much I know. There are 3 basic types of techniques that make up most of the jutsu we know of. The first is taijutsu, which is basic hand-to-hand combat. The second is ninjutsu, which has the widest variety and applies the use of different chakra elements. And the last being genjutsu, which comprises of the use of illusions to distract or damage the enemy. Apart from these, there are different types of specialized arts or subcategories such as fuinjutsu, kenjutsu, bukijutsu etc. and of course Iryo ninjutsu. The Hokage was relieved that Naruto at least the basic knowledge, otherwise he would have to conduct an introductory session for that first. So, do you have any experience in using any of these techniques? I'm only talking about the basic ones, not the specialized ones yet, he asked although he had a good guess where the boy stood having sparred with him once already. The only time I learnt taijutsu was when practicing with mostly Nei-chan or sometimes Ba-chan. Except for medical ninjutsu and a few basic starter techniques such as henja or kawarimi, I don't actually know kind of anything about the elemental techniques. Same goes for genjutsu. I wouldn't have a clue even if I were in one right now. Sensory abilities don't exactly count in offense so I'm leaving them out, Naruto said. The Hokage smiled expecting such an answer. He knew watching the boy's taijutsu that it wasn't the product of any specific style, as he had mostly relied on reflexes to dodge or tried to hit any openings he could find. But Tsunade isn't to blame. After all, Iryo ninjutsu takes a lot of concentration to learn so there isn't much time left for other tasks. And I guess teaching taijutsu except for occasional sparring isn't her forte anyways, the Hokage thought. Don't worry. That's what we're here for. Although I'm afraid that I am not an expert at genjutsu, so we'll leave it for later. I'll only be able to teach you how to dispel or break it. As for the other 2, I'll train you to the best of my abilities, he said. Naruto perked up and asked excitedly, so what are we gonna start with? What were the few techniques you were telling me about you can perform? Can you repeat? Hiruzen asked. Yeah, sure. Henja the transformation. Bunshin or the clone jutsu. Kawarimi or the substitution. And Shunshin or the body flicker. Naruto listed. Body flicker, you say? That's definitely not an easy technique to learn and certainly not a starter one. You're on a good start. Anyways, can you show me your Bunshin? The Hokage said. Yeah, sure. Actually it was the hardest to learn. I couldn't perform it until I perfected my chakra control, Naruto said as he weaved the signs of Ram Serpent Tiger. Numerous clones appeared around the duo. The Hokage studied them and finding them to be perfect nodded at Naruto, prompting him to dispel them. I actually find it easier to make more of them than less. Sounds weird, right? But that's the case, Naruto said. No, actually it doesn't. I have an idea why. Now let me show you a better version of this, the Hokage said as he crossed two fingers of each hand to form a hand sign similar to the plus sign. A single clone appeared beside him which looked exactly like him, but Naruto couldn't understand how it was any different from the ones he made. The Hokage already sensed his puzzled look and nodded at the clone who did the same. The clone went behind Naruto and lifted him off the ground, grabbing his t-shirt. Ah, whoa, hey. What's going on? You're standing in front of me. The clone is just an illusion. Why can it touch me then? Don't tell me you skipped straight to the genjutsu part, Naruto said while shaking his body trying to get free of the clone's grip. Haha, hardly. This is a solid clone as you can see. I want you to learn it now, the Hokage said as the clone dispelled, dropping him. Wait, why bother learning the regular Bunshin if such type of specialized version exists in the first place? Naruto genuinely asked. You must have heard, everything comes with a price. While it may be true that this type of clone can be used as more than just a distraction, the chakra consumed is also considerably higher. Using it in the heat of battle is not very much preferable to most shinobi as the chakra drainage is quite taxing, which could lead them to a loss, Hiruzen said. Naruto, not bothering to stand back up while listening intently, nodded in understanding. The third Hokage, watching his increasing curiosity, continued, it is known as Kage Bunshin or the Shadow Clone. It is a B-rank technique mostly used by Junin level ninja or higher. The reason I want to teach you this technique is simple enough. You couldn't learn the Bunshin easily because you have an ample amount of chakra which does exceed that of people your age. If you didn't have precise chakra control, I suppose you would have never actually had been able to perform it. So does that mean I'm already qualified to use a Junin level technique? Naruto asked. Technically yes, but keeping in mind the setbacks too, we'll start easy and test it out, see where it goes, the Hokage replied. Great. Best way to start the training. But before you teach me, I did want to ask something, Naruto said. Raising an eyebrow, the Hokage said, go on, tell me, what is it? If you already know such a technique, then why do you worry about the paperwork anymore? Just create a bunch of Kage Bunshin and be done with it, Naruto innocently said. The Hokage's eyes widened at the realization which would make his life livable again and smashed his palm on his forehead so hard he fell on his back straight. Ignoring what had to be the best facepalm in the entire shinobi history, he only had one thought in mind, although couldn't voice it as Naruto was close by, as he mentally screamed. Single quote, underscore. After half an hour of constant shaking and shouting, courtesy of Naruto, the Hokage finally got over his trance as he thanked Naruto and patted himself on the back due to the decision of training Naruto being one of the best he ever made. Ahem, so now let's give it a try. Make the hand sign I did and try to concentrate more chakra into your clone. Once you find the right balance it shouldn't be that hard, the Hokage said. Naruto did as instructed but did produce a clone which was in quite a pitiful condition. But due to his exceptional control at manipulating chakra, it didn't take him more than a few trial and errors followed by creating a few practice ones to get it right and create a faultless copybook shadow clone. It was partly because he had mastered the clone jutsu which required better control. Excellent. I'm still amazed how quickly you're able to grasp things. These shadow clones can be used for many purposes such as deception, intelligence gathering, offense etc., Hokage said. Wow. Why not just keep creating shadow clones and stay afar from the enemy then? He asked. Although solid, these aren't as durable as the real one. One good hit and dispelled easily, the Hokage said as he disappeared and reappeared between the identical bodies facing the clone. He rose up two fingers steadily giving time for the clone to observe and then jabbed them instantly into its gut, dispelling it in a cloud of smoke. He turned towards the original and said, see. Naruto nodded to indicate that he understood the point, but the Hokage added, can you tell me how I dispelled your clone? Did I punch it? No, you just straightened two fingers of your hand and suddenly jabbed right into the midsection, Naruto said nonchalantly before a wave of realization struck him as he further said, which I couldn't see, yet I know it happened. That means, well discerned. The The memory of the clone is also transferred to you. Just understand it this way, whatever happens to the clone comes back to you. Including the remaining chakra as well. If you incorporate it in your training, you can virtually double the output in the same time of training. Although it will be physically and mentally taxing as well since your body would have to accustom itself to the changes at double the speed, the Hokage said. Oh, I understand. But if that's the case, why stop at just one? Naruto said, crossing his fingers forming the same hand sign. No, wait Naruto, the Hokage tried to warn him of the consequences of recklessly attempting to create numerous ones. But he was too late as the whole area burst into smoke revealing what may be very well over 100 perfect solid clones. Momentarily being shocked at such a sight, his concern took over almost immediately after as he looked to find a chakra-exhausted Naruto lying on the ground. What the Hokage certainly didn't expect was Naruto smugly grinning at his achievement since he did notice the surprise that had taken over the Hokage's face a few moments ago. Sorry, but I think it's my turn to ask. Did you really make all these shadow clones or are we directly skipping to the genjutsu part? The Hokage said, amused. Nope, all real and ready to go. Naruto posed a victory sign. Are you sure you feel well, and not like you need to lie down or something? The Hokage asked, unable to form a question which wouldn't be rather blunt. I do feel I've used quite a bit of my chakra. Still, I'm nowhere close to dying if that's what you're asking, Naruto said, getting the hint. Huh, it's supposed to be your training and yet I am the one who keeps getting surprised every time. This is known as the Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu and it is considered forbidden as it takes a lot of chakra, placing the life of user at line, the Hokage said with a light sigh followed by a chuckle. I guess I shouldn't be surprised considering who his mother was. Still, I expected him to be a little more older before he could infuse such an amount of chakra. But again, his seal is different from that of hers. It effectively allows the chakra of the Biju to add to his own. He focused upon thought before he was pulled out of it by Naruto's voice. I'm sorry, what did you say? He asked. I was saying that it wasn't very much challenging to learn this jutsu as I already knew how to do the regular bunshin. So what's the next step? Naruto repeated. Actually, the purpose was to make it easier for you to simultaneously do 2 or 3 different tasks due to the shadow clones you would have made. Considering how many of them are now, I guess we can really gear up our schedule. So it's not the next step now but next steps. Using these clones, you can work on various tasks at the same time or concentrate on increasing the pace of one task to reduce the time required to do it, the Hokage said with a smirk. Cool. What should I start with? Naruto asked. Actually, I advise you have them hit the library as soon as possible. It would be good if you start studying along with physical training as well. Not only the topics related to ninja arts but also different other subjects. Those could be on any field such as history, science, political issues, economics, art, language and many more. The more knowledge you have, the more your mind opens up and ultimately comes to use somewhere along in life. Furthermore, you'll have an edge when you enter the academy so you can concentrate on more advanced stuff. However, I suggest you take it easy in the beginning. Your mind and body will take time to get used to this process, the Hokage said. Completely understanding that the Hokage made an excellent point, Naruto nodded in affirmation but not without raising his concerns. I'm sure that's a great idea. But there's a problem. I have tried going to the library before and I'm not very welcome there. Although I could use my henge, but then I don't want to roam around everywhere I go with a false persona. The Hokage frowned upon the fact that the librarian was debarring Naruto from accessing what had to be purely public property without any valid reason. The librarian had been appointed by the civilian council since they had demanded that civilians also be given some government posts. He kept that thought at the back of his mind to deal with him later and told Naruto, "Don't worry about it, I'll handle him. You can start reading tomorrow. For today, let's start with taijutsu. Your punches may pack power, but it's all in vain if you can't land a hit. Also, I did notice something else before, that I want to verify." He didn't give Naruto a chance to ask what it was since he jumped back and assumed a fighting stance. Naruto also did the same, although his stance was full of openings. He dashed forward hoping to land the first blow but was easily outmaneuvered only to be found at the receiving end of the blows quickly. After another few futile attempts, the Hokage ducked, catching his wrist and torso, throwing him backwards. You are allowed to use weapons. There are no restrictions in case you don't know, the Hokage taunted. Naruto pulled out a kunai and attacked again using forward grip. The Hokage was more focused on reading his movements rather than dodging, which was happening almost subconsciously. He verified his theory that Naruto always tried to find an opening to attack but kept his distance every time. Probably to have enough time to anticipate and evade a counter blow if needed. He deduced that it was because of the fact that he didn't learn any specific combat style yet. The reason was that these combat styles combined the use of offense and defense in a composed flow rather than sloppy erratic movements. To untrained eye, it may seem that non-specific attacks may in some way be better than specific style, but it was actually easier to handle since it left a lot of openings. But still reckoned to confirm it with Naruto in an indirect manner. If I would give you a choice, would you prefer to battle armed or not? Hiruzen asked. Is this a, trick question or something? What, idiot would want to be, unarmed if he has a weapon? Naruto said, slashing the kunai around while panting, not noticing the irony since it was exactly what he did just before. I'm sorry. Couldn't frame it properly. On second thought, never mind. We'll talk later, the Hokage said. He had some thought going around in mind to find something better suited to the boy. He had a brainwave and decided to act upon it as soon as possible. But having it cleared up, he flapped his eyes back open to say, come on, I haven't got all day now. Time skip. Next day. Naruto was currently sitting in the village central library. He had preferred to occupy the corner space where many eyes didn't fell upon him directly, not that he cared much, but found it distracting. Although he wasn't the only him there, as he had henged various shadow clones into civilians and random shinobi who were assigned different subjects to read and were sitting across different sections of the library. He had also issued various books and scrolls which were then given to more shadow clones outside the library. As there was a rule that nobody would be issued a book unless they were registered with a valid ID proof, he had registered 2 accounts as himself and then the civilian ID he had after applying henge. Since he had just started training on taijutsu, he had picked up whichever scrolls he could find on improving the technique and learning the style which would be most suitable for him. Most of them were accessible in the library except of course those which were forbidden or specifically passed down in individual clans. Once his shadow clones had read all the books assigned to them, they would dispelled one by one until one remained, who would then give them back to Naruto to return them to the library. He didn't need to devise any further ways to increase the number of books read since his brain would be only so much accommodating to process all the given information it received in a short amount of time. He then remembered that he had reached the training area earlier than the day before in the morning. He then waited patiently for hours but the Hokage didn't arrive. Instead, a bird flew in with a message which he detached. It was from the Hokage himself and read, Naruto, I'm a little busy today. Some unexpected work showed up. I won't be able to come. We'll continue tomorrow. In the meantime, why don't you go register at the library and start what we discussed yesterday? Exhausted completing the general history of Land of Fire, Naruto took a short break after which he started looking for the history of different clans inside the village. But it was proving to be a difficult task as he had been wandering from shelf to shelf only to come back at the same with no avail. Damn it, where is the clan history section anyways, he thought as he stomped his foot on the ground. But out of frustration he did overexert the strength a little bit, which caused a loud sound which he was sure would be clearly heard from all the corners of the library premises. As expected, a pair of footsteps were heard nearing him soon enough. Great. Now I'll get a real good earful from that snobby old librarian. He might even try to restrict me from coming here again, telling everyone that I'm indisciplined in here or something. Anyways, it's my fault, I should have been careful, Naruto muttered under his breath. While he expected the librarian to show up who would have been pleased to find a reason to reprimand him, he saw a girl turn around the corner of the shelves he was currently at. He was a little surprised yet relieved as he didn't have to face the librarian at the moment. Although there wasn't any guarantee that he won't come soon after, as she might be just any other person who came to check out of concern or one of the staff who would waste no time in rattling him off to her boss. She was a young girl older than Naruto, probably around her early teens, with light blonde hair up to shoulder length with a few stray bangs sticking out here and there. She wore a swirl-type pair of glasses which gave the impression that she either was a geek or a nerd, but most probably both. She wore a long white full-sleeved coat which by the look of it was to hide the outward projection of her fashion sense, or precisely to say lack thereof. While he was observing her, she wasn't doing the same, or even if she was, she did a good job at doing it discreetly. He came to his senses after he heard something but was too involved in his thoughts to actually interpret it. "I'm sorry, did you say something?" he asked. "Yes, I asked what happened here. I heard a loud sound which kind of sounded like something crashed, so I came here to check it out," she said. "Oh, nothing, I was looking for a book but in a hurry just slipped my foot and fell down pretty hard. That's why the sound." "Really sorry, did I disturb your reading?" he asked. "Oh no, that's not the reason why I'm here. I work as the assistant librarian, so currently I'm in charge of the place. The head librarian has gone out for breakfast. So I just have to make sure things keep going smoothly," she said. So, this was the assistant librarian. From the looks of it, she was the one who did all the management work while the head lazed around. However, he was still not sure if she'd let him off the hook. "I won't be rebuked for indiscipline, right?" he asked, hoping that she'd forgive him easily. "What? You fell down, so why is that indisciplinary?" "It was just an accident," she asked, adjusting her glasses, being genuinely surprised. "Oh, nothing. I wondered it would be the case if this library had very strict rules maybe." Naruto fumbled around, not making much believable of an excuse. The girl stared at him but then shrugged it off, then said, "Well, whatever. I assume you're new here, like quite a lot of people present here today, that's why you were having problems finding your way, is that right?" "Yeah, my first day here. And I did manage to find most of what I wanted to read but can't seem to locate something specific," he said. "Then you're in luck. I know every nook and corner of this entire place. Nothing that lies here can go unnoticed by me. I'll help you, if you want," she said. "Yes, of course. Thank you very much, miss." Naruto waited for her to prompt. She looked at Naruto plainly without any expression for him to complete his sentence. But was embarrassed after a few seconds when she realized what he wanted to ask. "Oh, sorry. Where are my manners? My name is Shiho. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance." Naruto replied, "It is nice to meet you, Shiho-san. My name is Naruto." "All right then, Naruto. What book were you looking for so desperately?" Shiho asked with a small laugh. "I wanted to read about the history of various clans which reside inside Konoha," he said. My. No offense, but a child your age usually doesn't take much interest in the history of Shinobi world," she said. Haha, yeah, normally that's the case. But I'm interested, what else can I say?" he said. "No need to explain. I was just curious. Even I found all these things interesting when I was young. Books were all I had at that time. Ahem, sorry," she started but stopped herself. She added then, "You won't find them here though. Those are kept in the inner part of the library. I'm afraid you'd have to register first before I could take you there." "That's no issue. I'm already registered. It was the first thing I did upon entering here," he said with a grin, showing her the library membership card. "Very well then, follow me. I'll show you where they're kept," she said as she led him away to a different section of the library. As they walked, Naruto tried to initiate some conversation as he asked, "Shiho-san, are you a shinobi?" "That I am. Why do you ask?" she said. "Nothing in particular. I also want to become a great ninja like the Hokage one day, so I was just curious," he replied. "That's an aspiring goal, Naruto. Keep working hard and I'm sure you will achieve it. I also have a goal, to be able to get a place in the Konoha Cryptanalysis division. And if things go well, I'll be able to become the head of department someday. Maybe I'll be able to get the clans to grant me access to their own archives if possible." The thought of how much more knowledge kept being secret could be gained makes me shiver from excitement. "Although that's a far cry from where I am right now," Shiho said. "Don't worry. What you said to me applies to you too. I'm sure you will get there someday," Naruto said. "Why thank you, Naruto," Shiho said, smiling. "So why are you working at the library then?" Naruto asked curiously. "It's not that easy to be accepted in that division, Naruto. One has to be able to crack different type of codes or to be able to cipher sensitive information tactically so that the enemy can't interpret it. Learning and applying that takes a lot of skill which I don't currently possess. That's why I took up a vacancy here. What better place to read and study than a library? And well, you can say that it also adds to my resume. Shiho explained, and then said, here, we are. This is the place where you'll find what you're looking for. Upon entering the section, she closed the door and pointed out to Naruto the exact shelf where he could pick the books or scrolls he wanted to study. The room wasn't occupied by anyone else except for the pair, which came to her observation rather quickly. Oh Kami. I'm in a room alone with the only other person being a boy. Man, only if he was older. No, what are you thinking, Shiho? He's just a young boy. It's you whose hormones are climbing. Damn it, this reading habit of mine is a curse sometimes. Shouldn't have secretly read those Ika books which had those arousing library scenes, Shiho lost in thought. Naruto, oblivious to that, smiled and said, thank you, Shiho-san. I found what I needed. You can go back now. Thanks for the help. I'll come ask if I need something else. Shiho came back to attention after listening to him and blushed at what she was thinking, so quickly stated, why you're welcome. I'll be outside at the main desk if you need me. Please put back those from where you took them. And don't bring them outside this section. Have fun reading. And scrambled away. Naruto stared at the gate before settling down at the table with the material and said, wow, she sure was in a hurry. Anyways, as he started reading the books. Time skipped next day. Whoever said that reading was a leisure activity would surely have never blitzed it using shadow clones, at least those were Naruto's final words before he gave into the deep sleep his brain demanded so forcibly. He was walking inside the training area in the morning, yawning lightly as he did feel the after effects of the two different types of training he had gone through. His body didn't feel as sore since luckily the Hokage had taken the previous day, so all he did was sit on chair for the most of the day. On the other hand, he was feeling lightheaded, although not to the degree what he had experienced the night before. He felt dizzy all the way home the previous evening with a good enough headache and hit the bed as soon as he changed, as at this point his brain and eyes required only one thing: sleep. This was because sleep is the way of human body to give rest to all the other parts while coordinating, filtering and retaining the memories of what happened or was learnt the entire day. This specific day, although it was overloaded enough. Lesson learned: never try to push this hard on the first day. Take it easy, yeah, one step at a time. Naruto thought with the last part both figuratively and literally. He suddenly pulled out a kunai and threw it in one of the trees nearby. Although his aim wasn't at all proper because of him being unable to concentrate well enough. He did so because he sensed chakra in the direction and instinctually felt he was going to be attacked if he did not do so first. It did turn out to be true enough, as the person jumped around consecutively upon a few trees faster than his eyes could follow and appeared behind him using shunshin. Before he could get a clear look, he was forced to block a kick from the side as there wasn't enough time to dodge, which sent him flying several meters. He was blocking a sword with his kunai by the time he regained his footing, after which he was forced to play totally on the defensive as it was taking all his concentration to focus on parrying the blows. He took a better look at the person attacking him, who did no folly in putting on a complete disguise wearing black top to bottom. Even then, he did have a feeling that he had felt the chakra from somewhere before but couldn't concentrate at the moment due to being unable to shift his focus from the fight and his brain still recovering from the overdrive that it went through before. But he did know that the person wasn't intending to kill him, as he still hadn't got one cut from the sword, and also from the fact that nobody without authorization could enter the Hokage training grounds easily. That train of thought, although, didn't last long, as the assailant threw him off balance when he tried to go on offense by increasing the strength behind the defending strikes using chakra, by gliding a foot horizontally under one of his own and banging the hilt of the sword against his jaw, which easily sent him airborne again until his back touched the ground again, skidding against the grass. This time, however, he wasn't able to stand back up as the tip of the sword was held within quite proximity to his throat. He gulped and held his hands up as a sign of conceding his loss as he felt another unknown chakra approach them. A hand clasped the shoulder of the assailant and a male voice said, "That's enough. We've seen what we wanted to, cough. I think it's time we introduced ourselves." Naruto saw the person to be wearing a leaf Junin vest, and it appeared that he wasn't at the pink of health, judging by the dark bags under his eyes and his repeated coughing. He was somewhat relieved but was still wary of them only until the moment the cloaked figure revealed its identity. The disguise was undone only to reveal a woman in standard Anbu uniform which comprised of black and gray armor who now Naruto recognized without any doubt. Not because he identified her face but because of the pure violet hair that were flowing down her shoulders which would have been recognizable anywhere. Neko-chan, is that why you? He asked as he relaxed his shoulders and closed his eyes knowing that this was probably some sort of another test or something. Both of them helped to get him up back on his feet and then prompted to start walking as he waited for an explanation. Yes, Naruto. Glad you could at least identify me by my face, since I was told that you had appreciable sensory abilities. I'm a little disappointed, to say the truth. But again, to be honest, I never thought you could have had so much strength given your age. Sorry about all of that, although, she said. For starters, I've never ever seen your face. You were always behind the mask, but I guess no one can miss your distinct hair. And, I've had a good headache since yesterday and for a good reason, otherwise I'd have recognized you when you were in the trees. And thanks and okay, Naruto said. The man who was listening quietly decided to cut in, I guess we'll discuss it later. We've yet to make introductions. Coughs. My name is Hayate Gecko and I'm one of the Hokage's personal guards. She who you know as Neko of the Anbu Black Ops is Yugao Azuki. We were ordered by Lord Hokage to meet him here at sunrise. Doesn't explain why she attacked me. And the fact that you didn't even try to stop her until I had almost accepted my fate. Naruto pointed a finger at him annoyed. He laughed uncomfortably and said, you'll know soon enough. See, we're almost there. Naruto just folded his arms and humped which caused Yugao to break out a small smile. Naruto brisked up forward when the Hokage was in sight. When the Hokage saw him coming near, he said gently, Naruto-kun, you are late today. It isn't common of you to do that. You should ask that to your subordinates who attack a young boy with a bad headache early in the morning out of the blue. Just what was that exactly? Naruto asked. Both of them caught up to the Hokage as they had increased their pace as well. They bowed before him and greeted. It's good to see both of you here. Although I'm quite surprised to hear what Naruto just told me, he said neutrally. Hayate bowed his head apologetically before saying, we apologize, Hokage-sama. Yugao thought that Naruto wasn't as good as you told us he wasn't. To be honest, I had my doubts as well. So we took a little detour to see for ourselves. Though it seems it wasn't a good idea since we didn't know Naruto wasn't in top condition to defend himself. The Hokage chuckled and said, I guess it can't be helped. Even I was surprised when I heard the first time. Anyways, what happened to you, Naruto? Didn't sleep well. Naruto hesitantly said, I overdid it with the reading by shadow clone method. So by the time I reached home I felt my head would explode, but I somehow slept easily and almost instantly. This morning I woke up quite better, but the headache didn't completely go away. At the moment it's just that it's more irritating than aching. Naruto, I did tell you not to get ahead of yourself. This jutsu can result as much as a bane as a boon if not carefully handled. You could end up in a hospital if your body doesn't have enough time to process and limitize itself, the Hokage scolded. Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of learned it the hard way. Now tell me, what are they doing here? Don't tell me you've started to do your office work at this time, Naruto said, hoping to change the topic or rather get back to it. Do you remember what I was trying to ask you yesterday? I wanted to know about your choice of weapons, the Hokage said. Huh, what do you mean? He asked. What I'm trying to ask is if you would rather prefer small nimble weapons or heavy-hitting larger sized ones, the Hokage said. Well, I guess I'd rather have bigger ones as I have enough strength to use them but not the agility that is required for the smaller ones, Naruto said, contemplating before giving his answer. The Sandaime Hokage smiled, having expected the answer in accordance with what he had observed. He already had started running something else in his mind the day before as some brilliant idea had occurred to him. That said, I'd like you to meet your new instructors, he said as he motioned towards the duo. What? No way, does that mean you're giving up on me already? We've barely started our training. That is definitely not acceptable, Naruto exclaimed. The new duo, though standing quietly, were still surprised at the boy's behavior, who was almost casually telling the Hokage what was right or not. Calm down there. First listen to the whole thing. This is why it is said that having no information is still better than knowing half of it, which leads to inaccurate conclusions, which in the ninja world, could mean life and death situation, the Hokage said. Although he listened to it completely, he still muttered under his breath, old men like preaching all the time. The Hokage ignored it and added, now listen quietly. These two will be helping you perfect your taijutsu while I would be training in ninjutsu. As I'm the Hokage, there are duties I can't avoid. Thus, I decided to assign them as your full-time instructors so that you don't have to miss out when I'm unable to attend. Like what happened yesterday. I could still spar with you anytime in taijutsu whenever you want. I guess that makes sense, Naruto said, folding his arms. Moreover, going back to the solution of my question, or you could say the implementation of your answer, they are perfectly suited for this job. What they are going to teach you is not only taijutsu, but also a special art different from the basic ones, the Hokage said. Naruto perked up and asked, whoa, that is just awesome. Which one is it? Which one? With excitement brimming in his voice. The Hokage smiled at the energy of the boy as if his headache had vanished suddenly, but then divulged using only one word. Kenjutsu. Flashback. Previous day, at Hokage's office. At your service, Hokage-sama. How may I be of assistance today? The cat-masked Anbu asked as she kneeled in front of the Hokage desk. Stand at ease, Neko. I haven't called you in for a mission, not at the moment, he said. She nodded, stood up and took a relaxed position with her legs at normal width and hands at the back. She wasn't entirely sure why the Hokage wanted to talk to her, since neither she had done anything out of the ordinary in the past few days nor there was any hitch in her missions as they were carried out smoothly. Do you remember Inu? He inquired, starting off the conversation after gesturing the Anbu bodyguards to leave. Of course, sir. No offense, but there isn't a chance anybody in the Anbu can forget him. He was the living definition of a perfect Anbu and his works were exemplary. I was on his squad and he was a great captain as well. And even then, not much time has passed since he was relieved, although I still don't understand why, she said while her disbelieving expression at the question hid behind the mask. The Hokage however chuckled and said, you didn't need to list his accomplishments. I was trying to get a conversation going, so I only expected a simple yes or a nod. The Anbu agent blushed at the fact that she lost control of her emotions because of the fact that one of her well-respected seniors retired without her knowing any reason about it. Still, the mask did hide her embarrassment and she replied with a stoic expression, apologies, Hokage-sama. Don't worry, it's understandable. In fact, one could say that in a way that is the very reason I called you here today, he said. Now that caught her attention quite a lot, but still managed to not jump ahead and ask, I'm afraid I don't follow what this is about, sir. The reason I pulled him off the Anbu was because he had made it to be a way to dive deeper into the darkness that's slowly engulfing his heart. Lord Forth put him in the Anbu so he could keep an eye on him while he worked beside him. In this way, he thought that by working in the Anbu the boy would be able to forget what tragedy happened. I assume you know what I'm speaking of, the Hokage said. Neko nodded quickly in affirmation as she had heard of the rumors that he wouldn't even hesitate to kill his comrades if the mission requires so, as both his teammates died in action, one of whom was said to be killed by him. Also, she was now intent on hearing the complete story as soon as possible since this might be her only chance. The Hokage added, he took it as a form of punishment upon himself to have failed those dear to him. That's why he was relentless as an Anbu and ascertained that performing his duties towards the village his friends died for might be the only form of redemption he could have. Although he could have easily become the Anbu head commander due to his vast experience, he chose to remain a captain at most, since every death that occurred would have just left another scar on his conscience. That is the reason I pulled him out of the Anbu and put him up to become a Junin instructor, was to have him find the light that has been clouded inside by watching the new leaves that bud anew in this village of ours, who provide us hope in building this world a better place. And then said, although it seems it will take time for him to adjust to the changes, I recently got the report that he failed his genin team. Neko kept silent for some time, allowing the information to sink in. Mostly the fact that the ideal Anbu they looked up to wasn't so only because of his skills and dedication, but also due to the dark side that existed within him. Sure, Anbu were assassination specialists, and thus had to deal with a lot of killings, but the pain that one experiences while killing a friend could leave a permanent hole in one's heart that can't be filled easily. Thank you, sir, I understand now. But I still don't get why is that related to me in any way, she said. Ah, yes. I would like to present you with the same opportunity I did to him. Although for him it was more or less forced. You have a choice, he said. Naoko could have imagined a lot of things he could have asked, but this one was definitely not on that list. Her eyes went wide at the given proposal. Do you mean that I should become a Junin instructor like him? I'm sorry, but I definitely can say I'm not cut out for that job, she asked. Your Mr. Anbu role model made quite better counter-argument than that. And yet, where is he now? Anyways, the answer to your question is no, not exactly. I need you to teach only one student. This one shows great promise for the future and you are the best suited for the job to ground him in the ways of Kenjutsu, the Hokage said. But, Hokage-sama, why ask me this? Do you see the same darkness in me that you saw in him? She asked, referring to the retired Anbu. No, that is not the reason. What you do is take pride in your work and perform your duties to your best for the sake of the village. But there is always a small shadow of darkness that does take shelter subconsciously in the line of work you exist in. That is why I gave you a choice, unlike him. Should you choose to accept or not is entirely up to you. Also, I'm not asking you to resign from the Anbu permanently. You will just not be in the regular force, but if a need arises which requires your area of expertise, then you would be summoned accordingly, he explained. Can I get some time to think before I can give an answer to that? She asked. I'm afraid not. I don't want your answer to be biased by any other outside influence. You are to give me the answer before you leave this room. If you accept, then I will be keeping your mask in my possession unless you are on a mission, he said. I understand, she said, knowing that ninja are supposed to have the ability to take on-the-spot decisions, although this was a bit different. She stood there pondering over her options while the Hokage made use of the time by clearing out some more paperwork. Sure, she liked being one of the members of Leaf's elite commando unit whose purpose was to protect the village from the shadows and was proud of it. But there was also a part of her who did want to enjoy a life different from the current one. And the Hokage had already assured her that she would be called upon when her services would be needed here. The Hokage looked at the mask that was placed on the table in front of him and looked at the young woman whose face was now clearly visible. He gave her a small nod with a smile. I'm glad that you decided to accept. You are not Naoko from now on but Yugao Azuki. Now I must say that I'm surprised you didn't even ask who was the person you were going to be taking as your student, the Hokage said. By all means, sir, that doesn't matter at all. I'll try to give my best whoever he is, she said with a neutral expression. Oh, I thought you'd be interested since I observed you had quite an affection towards the kid, the Hokage said, trying to suppress a smirk. While you obviously don't mean Naruto, Lord Hokage, she asked, but her surprised expression wasn't hidden due to the absence of mask. What makes you think I'm not? Unless there are a lot of kids you hang out around, he said. But he's not even in the academy yet. And Kenjutsu can't be mastered without knowing the basics first. He just returned from a long time leave away from the village somewhere, so why? I'm sorry, I'm just totally confused, she said with an expression of disbelief now that it was confirmed. Haha, that is to be expected. You might not know, but he has had a good amount of training in that time. I've rarely seen such talents at his age, but he still has to train hard in order to utilize them. I have a feeling that he could be very well suited to wield a sword if given proper training. I didn't tell you this beforehand because I wanted you to be unbiased while making a decision. Otherwise you might have unwillingly accepted only due to your sympathy for him, the Hokage explained. Maybe that's right. But now that I know this, I feel even better having made this decision, Yugao said with a momentary upturn of lips. I have taken responsibility of training him, but in my position one can't put aside the duties for the village aside in any case. I also wanted to assign someone to help him in taijutsu, he said. May I give a suggestion, Hokage-sama, she said. Go ahead, he replied. For the first time after removing the mask, she couldn't keep her stoic expression as a blush spread across her face as she said, there's a guy the first know who is a well-experienced ninja. He knows even better Kenjutsu than I do. If you assign him as a co-instructor with me, not only will the Kenjutsu quality teaching will be improved, but we'll manage to train him in good enough taijutsu between the two of us. The Hokage smirked knowingly, but it went unnoticed by Yugao as she was watching downwards, trying to hide the blush that warmed her cheeks. That's a good idea. May I know who is this person you're referring to? he asked generally. He is actually one of your personal guards. His name is Hayate Gecko. I've also picked up a bit or two advices in Kenjutsu from him, she said. Oh, Hayate, huh. You're right, he is proficient at Kenjutsu and knows decent taijutsu as well. I don't have a better plan at the moment, so we'll go with it. You may convey this information to him too if he accepts the conditions that I provided you with, he said. As you wish. May I leave? She asked. The Hokage shifted in his seat a little and looked at her with cold eyes with carried an expression of threatening. Yes, but I've got to add one more thing. You or Hayate are not to tell anyone about this whole activity going on. This is confidential. I don't want people back on Naruto's back like before. Also, make sure twice that no eavesdropping is going on before you tell Hayate about it. Once you're done, both of you report back to me today itself for the rest of the details. Is that clear? He said in a serious tone. Yes sir, absolutely, she replied with her posture going back to attention. Very well then. You are dismissed. Flashback over. Wow. You mean I get to learn sword art? How cool is that? I'll tell you, absolutely awesome, Naruto exclaimed. Galled to see your excitement, but it's not as easy as it sounds. Kenjutsu is conceptually and right to the basics different from your regular arts. You must be having basic knowledge of wielding a weapon to start on Kenjutsu training, but it won't save you from going through the basics of Kenjutsu. Confusing, isn't it? Think of it as knowing how to eat food is necessary but not enough when you're learning how to eat food with proper table manners, Yugao said. Not only that, we're going to be, your instructors for taijutsu training, don't forget. From what I observed, you need to work on that a lot too, Hayate said. Yeah, I know. Hayate, sensei. I guess I need to start calling both of you that, Naruto said grinning. The Hokage was now satisfied that all of it happened without any problems from either side. But reminded himself that he didn't exactly have a lot of spare time on hand, so clapped his hands to get attention from everyone around and said, "It's good to see everybody getting along with enthusiasm. But I'm short of time already due to your delay in the introductions. So we're going to get back to business." He looked towards the instructor duo and said, "I'll be here until 2.5 hours from now. You can come pick him up then. In the meantime, I suggest you look for a proper secluded place to have him undergo his training. I've already told you that the Hokage training grounds are not a good place for full-time training when I'm not around, as it ensures the arousal of suspicion. Unless you already found one, that is." Both have looked at each other then shook their heads. "Then what are you still standing here for?" the Hokage said. Both of them hurriedly nodded and shunshined away. Now where were we? So we are going to be starting ninjutsu training from today. As both taijutsu and kenjutsu would be taught to you by them, it would give me more time to focus on the ninjutsu aspect, which if I remember correctly you explained is the type which has the biggest amount of variety of ways it can be used in, the Hokage said. Yes, due to the fact that there are 5 different natures, which makes it far more versatile. Mostly ninjas use ninjutsu as the strongest weapon in their arsenal all over the shinobi world. I have yet to see someone who relies solely on taijutsu or genjutsu. Although I have seen Ba-chan use only taijutsu, it's because she can gain super strength by focusing chakra on one point, which is not a very common skill, Naruto said. 5 natures, you say? I guess you've yet to get to the ninjutsu information part in your studies despite cramming quite a lot on your first day, the Hokage chuckled. I wasn't any good at taijutsu against you, and we did start with that, so I decided to first study those scrolls as much as possibly could to improve, Naruto said. The Hokage was surprised that Naruto had tried to make progress by identifying his weaknesses and overcoming them on his own. He gave the boy a genuine smile and said, "That's good Naruto, keep it up. Although at a slow and steady pace this time. So let's get on to it," the Hokage said, but was interrupted. "Before we start, can you first show me some awesome move? All I saw was the protective wall and shuriken clones when we sparred. I get why you refrained from using powerful moves since I could have been injured, but now I can't wait to see something," Naruto said excitedly. The Hokage thought over it and felt that no harm would come to do it. If anything, Naruto would be more than thrilled to start his training. "Alright, stay attentive, I'm only going to do this once. And you might want to step back," he said as he turned towards the large clearing. Naruto stepped back and aside as instructed and waited excitedly at thinking what type of jutsu he'll get to observe. His curiosity wasn't able to stay around long enough as the Hokage started weaving various hand signs and stated the name of the jutsu at the end before inhaling a lot of air in his lungs. Kaiten, Karyu Enden, Fire Style, Dragon Flame Bomb. As soon as he released the air, it came out in the form of intense fire that took shape in the form of dragon which spiraled around the area in front of them before turning upwards. Naruto had to shield his eyes initially since he wasn't used to or expected this much heat but adjusted in a few seconds. Next was nothing but amazement that kept his mouth wide open the entire time as he marveled at the sight in front of him. The dragon faded as the Hokage cut off the jutsu and turned his face towards Naruto and motioned him to get back. Naruto stared blankly for a few seconds before his mind came out of the wonders and he walked back towards the Hokage. Satisfied, the Hokage asked with a smirk. Absolutely. That was so cool. For a moment I thought I don't even wanna learn Kenjutsu now. I mean, I can't get why is it that if someone knows such amazing techniques, why bother with the smaller ones? Just do what you just did and consider the job done, Naruto said. What you're saying is definitely not correct. Tell me, what would you do if you want to restrain the opponent and not damage him? For example, a comrade who is under the effect of a genjutsu might not be able to differentiate between a friend and foe. What would you do then? Or if the battlefield is scattered with both the sides? Would you risk getting your teammates in the crossfire? The enemy might have hostages with him as well. In any case, relying on one type of technique is not something that makes one a good ninja. The more protean you are, the less the enemy can exploit your weaknesses. These type of techniques are only useful in the condition when you are fighting alone and are forced to deal heavy damage in less time. It consumes a lot of chakra too, the Hokage explained. Naruto understood the point that big flashy moves are not the only thing that make you a great ninja. The best of ninjas are said to have a versatile skill set which can be used in any type of situation by adapting to it. Therefore, all the skills are necessary and useful when it comes to the battlefield or a mission. I understand now. Thanks. I forgot that raw power doesn't equal to how skilled a ninja actually is, Naruto said and apologized. It's alright. Konoha wasn't built in a day. To keep learning as we live is what makes us human, he said. Do you think someday I would be able to do that jutsu you just did if I train hard? Naruto asked. Nothing is unachievable if you try hard enough. To endure hardships and overcoming them is truly what it means to be a ninja, the Hokage said. Naruto took these words deep in his heart and felt a newfound confidence rising in reciprocation. He made a fist and shouted while raising it up in the air, "Let's get started then, what are we waiting for, Datbeo?" The Hokage simply smiled and said, "Alright, you told me that you know about 5 element transformations. Name them one by one. Fire, water, earth, lighting, wind. These are the 5 nature manipulations that can be used in ninjutsu," Naruto stated. Good. But do you know which one of these are you best suited for? The Hokage asked. I never thought about it that way. I thought I could choose whichever I wanted to go with first, Naruto said confused. Not quite. Everyone has a different chakra and carries a certain affinity towards a specific element. That specific chakra nature is quite easier to master compared to the others as it comes to the individual naturally. The others can be mastered but it takes a lot of time and effort to be able to properly use them, the Hokage said. Whoa, I didn't know it worked that way. I hope my affinity is fire. I really want to learn that jutsu as soon as I can. But wait, how will we know what is my nature affinity? Will I have to try out every single nature until I know which was the easiest? Naruto said. The third Hokage shook his head and moved his hand behind his own waist and pulled a bunch of papers out of nowhere. Now, don't get the wrong idea, dear readers. Winking face, there must be a pocket or something, that's all. He extended his hand towards Naruto and told him to pick up one of those, to which Naruto obeyed. What is this? Do I have to make notes here? Naruto asked. No, this is not your regular paper. It is made from a special type of tree whose bark reacts to the smallest amount of chakra. What's even more interesting and at the same time useful is the fact that it reacts to different type of chakra natures in different but specific ways. This will help us as knowing what type of nature your chakra possesses affinity towards. Which, unlike your suggestion, wouldn't take us few years of time until you manage to know your affinity by hidden trial method trying of learn all types. The Hokage smirked. Naruto just stood there dumbfounded as he didn't have any idea there was such a simple way, and also because of the fact that his own suggestion question was clearly not viable. So what do I have to do now? He asked. Just pass on a little bit of your chakra into the paper and it will be done, the Hokage said. What happens then? Naruto asked. Depending on your nature affinity, the chakra paper will react in different ways. With fire, it'll burn and turn to ash. With water, it will get damp. With lightning, it'll wrinkle, crumple. With earth, it'll turn into dirt and crumble away. And lastly, with wind, it will be cut into half, the Hokage explained. What is your nature affinity then? Naruto asked. The Hokage took one of the chakra papers to demonstrate as he pushed some chakra into the paper. It immediately caught fire and burnt up, turning into nothing but ash. As you can see, my natural affinity is fire. But I can use the other natures as well. Some clans are affinity specific, like the natural affinity of almost all of the clan members of the Sarutobi clan is fire. Same goes for the Uchiha clan. Okay, let's see now. Here goes nothing. Just be fire, fire, fire please please, Naruto said as he infused some chakra and pushed it into the paper. The paper started to get wet all over as Naruto started pouring the chakra onto the paper. A water type, huh? Too bad Naruto, water is the least compatible with fire. Learning fire style wouldn't be easy if it could be done at all, the Hokage thought. He was however flabbergasted at the scene that unfolded next. The chakra paper crumpled, wrinkled while turning brown in color as if it was about to be converted into dirt. The Hokage looked up at the sky with his mouth still wide open and mentally shouted while pleading, "No, Kami please. I don't think I can handle these kind of surprises anymore with this boy. I don't want to see this anymore. Please show some sign that it was just a mistake of nature." And Naruto absolutely does not possess affinity towards 3 different elemental natures. Naruto was more focused on getting the paper to burn, so he pushed a lot of chakra compared to before in one go while being inattentive to what was actually happening. Before the 3 chakra natures could show their increased effects on the paper, a sharp tearing sound vibrated around Naruto's hand as the whole paper was torn to very minute pieces before it flew away with the breeze. The Sandaime was now sweating as he took a step back and visibly shook his head frantically while looking towards the sky again and said, "No. I take back my words. That was definitely not what I meant." If someone looked through the eyes of humor, he might have seen that nature or the one he was talking to was now laughing wildly after around with him and saying, "You asked for it. Now eat this." He sat on the spot as he felt he would hyperventilate if he kept standing at that time. Taking a deep breath, he refocused his mind towards the surroundings. He was surprised to see Naruto whining around, which was definitely not what he had expected. This isn't fair. I wanted to learn fire jutsu. There must be something wrong with this paper, no matter how much I tried it just didn't burn, Naruto screamed. The Hokage facepalmed and couldn't stop a chuckle from coming out due to the irony of the situation. Naruto, you possess 4 different natural affinities. That's a rare case even among the rare. I have never seen such an incident in my entire life and I doubt anybody else has. If anything, you should be happy about it, he said. Yeah, right. Easy for you to say. You do have fire affinity, so that's no big deal for you, Naruto said as he turned his head away from him and pouted. That doesn't mean you won't be able to master fire release. Actually, it means that you'll have to wait comparatively less as you would be quickly able to grasp the other natures, the Hokage said as he tried to convince Naruto. Pulling a complete 180, Naruto excitedly said, "Really? Then what are we waiting for? Let's get started with all of them, Datbeo." The Hokage deadpanned as he pulled his hat downwards to cover his face. He was yet to recover from the revelation which came as a bolt out the blue, and here the boy was acting more or less childish. Naruto, what I showed you was merely a demonstration of one of the nature releases. The others are equally powerful as well. You don't need to shift your focus on only one because you found it powerful. This is not a game we're playing, so I can't always overlook your behavior. It is your training to become a shinobi, so I need you to act seriously, he said in a mildly strict voice. The action did prove to be effective as Naruto calmed down in the next few seconds as he realized he had yet once again let his emotions get the better of him during the training. Sure, the Hokage was affectionate towards him and was lenient too, but he was going out of his way specially to teach him along with taking care of the village. He was disappointed in himself as he bowed and apologized sincerely. The Hokage smiled momentarily and indirectly forgave him as he said, "Whatever happened can't be helped. We should focus on the present. So by your observation, what did you notice happened to the chakra paper you used?" "I saw the paper getting damp, then crumple and turn brown at the same time. Lastly it tore into shreds," he recalled. "And what do you infer from this?" Hiruzen asked. "I guess my strongest nature is water because it reacted with the chakra paper before the others. Then lightning and earth and finally wind in that order," Naruto said. "That's not how it works. It can mainly be deduced by how much intensely the paper reacted with the chakra rather than the reaction time. At that point of time your water nature reacted first, hence making it wet," the Hokage explained. "So then all of them are equally strong in my chakra?" Naruto asked. "Most of them, but not all. Rest of the natures reacted normally with the paper excluding one. It was the wind nature. Remember I told you that wind splits the paper in half. Even if there were one or two more tears it wouldn't be unusual, but with the power that it ripped through the paper and shredded it shows that wind nature has even more affinity towards your chakra," the Hokage said. "Oh, if that's the case, I guess we should start with wind chakra training then," Naruto asked. "Yes, that would be the most practical approach. But we'll have to desist from using it. The reason would be that wind nature chakra is the toughest to control. Even more so for those who don't possess affinity towards it. My late wife did have an affinity towards wind nature and my son also does. Unfortunately, as you can see I don't. So I don't have as much proficiency in wind style as I have over others. That is why we'll be leaving it for the last. You should be able to quickly grasp it if you do manage to have a command over the others," the Hokage told him. Naruto simply nodded in understanding on what the Hokage was explaining to him. "So then what do you suggest we start with?" Naruto asked. "We'll start with water manipulation. It is the easiest to control as water has fluidity and can be molded with the least difficulty. It is the moderation between different chakra natures. The reason behind it is similar to the 3 states of matter as you may have studied in science. Wind is more fluid in nature but it can't be molded or controlled easily. On the other hand, earth is solid and therefore possesses the least fluidity although it can be controlled easily," the Hokage stated. "Yosh, let's do it," Naruto said. "Sure, but we'll have to get to a water source first. There's a small pond not far from here. Come on," the Hokage said as they started walking in that direction. Time skip. Where did they go? Somewhere in that direction, I guess. Let's go check it out. Both Yugao and Hayate reached the original location right on time but found it empty. Yugao had sensed Naruto's chakra some distance away in the direction he had gone to. So both of them were currently making their way towards the pond. As they reached it, Naruto was sitting against a tree in a half-lying position heavily breathing with his eyes closed. Yet, it seems he managed to spot both of them easily as he said, "Good morning again, Yugao-sensei, Hayate-sensei." "Good morning Naruto. How've you been?" Yugao replied since Hayate mostly tended to refrain from talking too much due to his chronic cough. "Oh, I've been trying to attempt at moving water around with chakra but I can't even pull it out of the pond. Gigi says that it will take time so I have to just keep practicing until I get it. When I get the hang of it, I'll inform him and then he'll schedule the next training session," Naruto said. "I see. Speaking of him, where is Lord Hokage?" she asked. "He left around 10 to 15 minutes ago. He taught me the basic part of what I had to do so all that was left to practice. So I kept at it until I sensed you guys coming so settled down here to take a breather," Naruto said. "So, your chakra affinity is water element, huh? Good, cough, for you," Hayate said. Yeah, I guess you could say that," Naruto said not wanting to explain all of that to them at least for the moment. Changing the topic, he asked, "So where did you two go since morning?" Yugao turned her face as her cheeks took a glint of pink but was saved by Hayate as he replied calmly, "We had to, go look for a place where we can carry out your training. We had breakfast afterwards and came here right after that." Now the other side was trying to change the topic as Yugao said playfully, "We also brought something for you. Want to take a look?" "Yes, what is it?" "Come on, show me," Naruto said as he perked up. Yugao deliberately moved her hand slowly and dramatically behind her back to tease Naruto, which did have its effect. "Hurry up," Naruto prompted. She chuckled but then brought out his gift from her back, which she had strapped along her sword. It was a wooden bakken which looked pretty well made, with its finishing being perfect and smooth as well as the wood seemed sturdy and durable. She handed it over to Naruto, who happily accepted it and started waving it around in air as if trying to slash the air. "Wow, it's pretty cool. Thanks very much both of you," Naruto said delightfully. "This one resembles a katana, which will be the main focus of our training. We will also be taking a few lessons if you ever have to use a tanto or a wakizashi, but that's something for later," Yugao said. They had bought it from the same shop Naruto had visited to fill his ninja tool arsenal, as it had the reputation of giving the best quality products. "We know that it won't outlast your training, and you'll have to buy new ones sometime or the other. But since you didn't know about the Kenjutsu training and it's the first time you're doing it, we thought it'd be a nice gift to our student," Hayate said. "Yeah, it's great. Thanks again," Naruto said. "Don't mention it," Hayate said. Naruto had a question going on in his mind for quite some time which he wanted to ask him but didn't get a chance before. But now seemed like a perfect time to do so. "Hayate-sensei, I wanted to ask something. Why do you always seem to be coughing? If it's a regular cough, why don't you visit the doctor?" Naruto asked, not knowing if the disease was something acute or chronic. Hayate was hesitant in answering the question, but Yugao decided to quell his curiosity as she said, "It is not a common ailment like the common cold, if that's what you mean. The truth is that he got some serious lung damage while he was on duty carrying out a mission. The enemy used poison gas as a surprise attack which was inhaled by most of his team members including himself. Although the mission was successful as they managed to defeat the enemy, all of them were in critical condition at the time they could reach help, those who survived, of course. The medics were able to extract the poison from their bodies, but all of them sustained lasting damage somewhere or the other. Including Hayate, the poison gas affected the lungs mainly, due to maximum exposure while inhaling it. This is why and then the damaged lung tissue cleared up, but since new lung tissue can't be formed in the body at this age, it was replaced by regular collagen tissue which lead to scar formation in different parts of the lungs and ultimately fibrosis. That's why his body coughs reflexively, as it assumes that proper flow of air isn't maintained due to some mechanical obstruction in the airway which could be expelled by coughing, but which is in actuality due to the absence of gaseous exchange in the fibrosed parts," Naruto completed. Both Hayate and Yugao were staggered for a few moments as they tried to comprehend what he deduced and how he did so. Both looked at each other before Yugao said, "Why, yes, exactly. I read that in the doctor's report. I couldn't have explained it better than you did. But how did you?" as she trailed off in uncertainty. "I did learn medical ninjutsu for the major part in my previous training, and my teacher was really good a doctor. I may still be lacking at the experience of treating or healing complicated diseases, but I do know the in and outs of most of the diseases." "Wait, you didn't know that already?" Naruto asked. Both of them remembered that the Hokage did show them a file containing information on his abilities, but figured that the Hokage might have added some things just to boast on him, or that Naruto, if did have those skills, they must be on a very basic level. Now embarrassed that they were clearly wrong and Naruto wasn't just any boy roaming around that the Hokage put his hopes in. This led Hayate to ask the million-dollar question, "Where on earth, did you learn all of that?" "Well, if Gigi didn't tell you, I'm in no position to do so either. You'll just have to live with the suspense," Naruto said cheekily. "You make a good point. Don't worry, I was just curious. Nothing I won't forget over a good night's sleep. If I ever get one, that is," Hayate said. Yugao was in a dilemma at the moment. She was aware of the whole scenario and would have easily told Hayate. But after hearing what Naruto said made her realize that the Hokage had entrusted her with confidential information, and just because she felt like it she couldn't just blabber out anything before having permission. This issue wasn't a personal one, but professional. On the other hand, her heart knew that Hayate wasn't a bad person, and since he was going to be teaching Naruto along with her, it was fitting that he also knew the details that she did. But then again, Personal feelings weren't supposed to interfere with official work for a shinobi. And she was one of the Anbu Black Ops, damn it. As she passed sideways glances towards Hayate but couldn't decide what to do, Hayate noticed and sternly said, "Don't." Yugao looked at him and just voiced a, "Huh. I know that there's something you know and I don't. But you're conflicted on telling me because you're under the orders of not to. If that was something Lord Hokage intended only to tell you, then it would be for a good reason. And as I said, coughs. I have no specific interest in knowing either. I was merely curious. And if there would be a situation that would need me to know, then I'll personally ask Hokage-sama. I know for a fact that he won't refuse," Hayate said. Yugao just nodded and was relieved that she didn't have to cross any boundaries, and Hayate understood that. "Ahem, no offense, I know you're going to be my sensei and all, but if it was that bad, then why did you even bother to continue?" Naruto asked. "I guess, coughs. I wasn't ready to give up my shinobi career yet. Most of the others did resign and they were in a way right to do so, but I didn't think I would be able to leave all I worked for. It was basically a gamble and, coughs, it will be worth it as long as I live," Hayate said. In the terms of medicine, it was not a good choice, to be honest, a really bad one actually. With this type of chronic disease, day-to-day life wasn't comfortable, let alone the life of a shinobi. It was evident that he couldn't even sleep soundly because of it by the look of the bags or dark circles formed beneath his eyes. But again, logic isn't the only thing that matters if your heart is somewhere else. Hayate was passionate about being a ninja and wasn't a fool in any case. He did understand the risks that came along and had duly accepted them. He had put both things on a weighing balance and had come to the conclusion that he'll live to his heart and passion, however short it might be. He had also honed his skills to a great extent, which spoke for itself as he was selected among the Hokage personal guard unit. "I understand," Naruto said, his respect for Hayate being nothing but grown. "Enough of that, now. Let's go, we have to start your training. Can't have ourselves slacking on the very first day. It'll take time to reach, as that place is considerably far from the village, unlike the Hokage training grounds," Yugao said. "Ah, can't we wait a little more? I'll have to start training again anyways when we reach there," Naruto said. Yugao was about to chide Naruto for being indolent but was cut off by Hayate as he grabbed Naruto and put him on his back swiftly as he said, "No time to waste. You can rest on me as we go there." Putting his bakken around his belt, he swung his arms around the man's shoulders and grinned as he said, "Yay, thanks Hayate-sensei." The trio then left for the secluded location that was to be the training area for Naruto's, training. Part 2 ends here, but the Uzumaki clan's revival has officially begun. Naruto's power is growing, and so are the bonds that will shake the ninja world. If you enjoyed this part, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Fox Fanfiction. Comment below if you want part 3, and tell me, which Uzumaki queen should stand beside Naruto next.